Let's go. Welcome to the Mangalorian as we finally have arrived at volume 39 of the Dragon Ball manga, the hatching of Majin Buu and the end of the Majin Vegeta portion of the story. We got a lot of Majin Buu to talk about today. I'm Danny. Jordan is right here. What's going on, man?
What's up, bro? I just ready to
How
get
are
in.
you?
I'm good. I'm well rested today. Feel good. Ready for
Very
it.
good. No, that's good to know. We've already got a super chat, and we're gonna address it real quick as we open up the show this week. We are gonna be talking about we're gonna get right into volume 39, but 277060 says, what chapter episode did Dragon Ball's popularity start declining? So it depends. There's a lot of different ways to look at this. In the manga, there have been said to have been a decline after the battle with Frieza. However, Shonen Magazine's numbers were still really, really strong. And there's not that much evidence that Dragon Ball on an individual level was going down. Now, anime-wise, a bit different. If you analyze and you study the television ratings of Dragon Ball into Z, you do notice that the Great Saiyan Man episodes, the early first few episodes of the Majin Buu arc, actually were really, really popular. They actually popped the number, and then they started to slowly decline after that. So either people were wrapping up with the manga or they weren't watching it live anymore. Maybe there were more things to do. Maybe they were catching the replays. Difficult to say. Maybe they didn't like the Majin Buu saga. I mean, it is, the Majin Buu saga is hotly contested as being, the most, I'd say the most polarizing arc. But I will say this, there's another way to look at this. While the popularity of the original run of the manga may have been declining, there was a whole new world of opportunities opening up internationally, because as Dragon Ball was ending in Japan, it was starting everywhere else. The dub was rocking and rolling, even the old ocean dub. The Latin American dub was already setting huge ratings down there in Mexico. So while it may have seemed like from Japan Dragon Ball was declining, it was actually about to become the biggest manga of all time. And I find it, well, maybe not of all time, but of that time. And I do find it interesting that in many people's, like a lot of people that got into Dragon Ball outside of Japan did so after the manga was already finished. And I find that interesting, people getting into something years after the continuous story was already over.
Yeah, I mean, it sometimes it takes a while for an audience to develop. Not that there wasn't an audience before, but I do think that like fans and people in general have become like more nerdy and more open to anime and stuff like that over time. So I mean, it just makes sense that there'd be a bigger audience come later.
Yeah. So when we last left off, right, the story was that Goku and Majin Vegeta were going at it. Majin Vegeta had discussed how it was arguing with Goku about his reasons as to why he allowed Babidi to try to control him. Of course, it didn't work because Vegeta is a very headstrong person. So what Vegeta did was he took all of the benefits of being possessed by the Majin Madoshi power up, but didn't let Babidi control him. However, because of all the energy output that Goku and Vegeta had put out during their fight, the Majin Buu egg was finally complete, and we're going to see the hatching here in this
Yeah,
arc,
and I just want to point out
or in
something
this
really
chapter.
cool. I just want to point out something really cool about Goku and Vegeta being the ones to power Majin Buu's egg. Now, you remember we talked about this at great length whenever we did that video about Ultra Ego and Ultra Instinct, about how Goku and Vegeta are yin and yang themed, right?
That's a must watch. It's in the Sayuki playlist.
Yeah. So, Wukong's egg was powered by Chi, and Chi is made by a combination of yin and yang energy. So, Toriyama is using Goku and Vegeta's role is like yin and yang theme characters, and like them powering up Boo's egg to like symbolically like recreate the process that created Sun Wukong's egg. Like basically like Vegeta's yin, Goku's yang, their energy together is what creates Majin Buu. And it's just like it's so unbelievably verbatim. Like when you start to catch on to that it's like undeniable. You know, it's like it's very.
And once again, Vegeta's just selfishness has an ego has created a bigger problem. It's the same thing when he allowed Cell to become perfect. It's just created a bigger problem for everyone to overcome, including Vegeta himself. We're going to talk all about that on this stream. So Supreme Kai's having a meltdown. Gohan is mad because he's going to try what he can, but it might not be enough. He powers up. This right here, I think, is Gohan really trying to tap into that secret power that he's got. He's doing the best because he realizes now I have no choice. Fires a Kamehameha, and the blast is so big that Dobura knows if he gets hit with it, he's dead. So instead of trying to deflect the move, that should tell you that if this Gohan fought Dobura a few chapters ago, he would have been mincemeat. And this is something a lot of folks don't pick up on, is that this is the first time we're seeing adult Gohan really take this fully serious. And so he fires the blast, and so Dobura takes Babidi, and they move out of the way, and he basically fires the blast onto the giant egg. And I really love this art right here.
Yeah, it's awesome. I really like the way he draws Gohan particularly.
Gohan with the all black, you mean?
Not just the all black, but like his anatomy, his expression. Like he looks super serious, and he just, he looks like he's like more powerful than ever, despite the fact that he's not. He just looks cool,
I also like how the ball, instead of blowing up, just bounces.
Yeah.
And then it cracks open. Now, we've talked a lot on previous Saiyukis multiple times about the symbolism of something coming out of an egg and how it ties into Sun Wukong.
Yeah.
Toriyama used it when Gohan burst out of the Saiyan space pod, with Goku showing up on the pod.
Yeah, he does it so many times. Even Piccolo comes out of an egg. Like he does it like
the rice cooker.
Yeah, well, the Piccolo Jr. actually comes out of an egg. But yeah.
Oh, that's right, the other Piccolo. I thought you meant the rice cooker like
demon. Yeah, he uses it so many times. It's actually insane how many times he uses it. I love it, but he does use it a lot.
Yeah, right. He does. But I like that he brought it back here in a way that
the way he did it here was probably the most blatant, but also in that sense very creative, because even though it is the most blatant, he still did it in a subtle way, like a cool, unique way where it's kind of tucked in underneath the surface. It's really cool though.
Now they're over here wondering just what happened, and they're scared shitless. And Supreme Kai automatically assumes that, well, too bad, Babidi. Buu was disintegrated by Gohan's attack. And it's like, things are never that easy. Things are never resolved like that. And now, Kaioshin gets comfortable, but Gohan senses.
He's like, use Kamehameha attack, Gohan. He's literally treating him like a Pokemon.
Like a Pokemon. Yeah. And Gohan's like, I can sense this incredible energy growing. And then we have this big pink cloud up in the heavens, this giant pink cloud forming. They don't know what's going on, and then you see it slowly forming and forming and forming. Now, I talked about this in a video that I did ages ago. I'm talking about literally 10 years ago. The whole Majin Buu putting himself together was like the way he did it here with the sludge was basically Toriyama's version of the T-1000, and how the T-1000 in Terminator 2 was liquid metal, and they were all sort of part of his being coming back together. That's where Toriyama got the idea from. So it's not just that Terminator inspired the Cell Saga. there are still things about Terminator that were carried onto this arc.
Yeah, the regeneration thing in general, I think, came from Terminator. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and Majin Buu's regeneration is the strongest of any character we've seen. It blows away Piccolo. It blows away Cells because it's on a magical level, and there's really no way to break it. It's just
Yeah, it's like he himself is a blob that, like, if a bullet went through him, it doesn't do any like biological damage. He's just a blob of, it's not like he. It's funny because, like, when I first saw Boo, I was like, "Oh, this guy doesn't have any organs. He's like a blob of gum."
right.
And then later on, whenever they go into Boo, it's like, "Wait a minute, he does have organs. What the heck?"
Yeah, but you're still not wrong. He is a big blob of, like, of chewing gum. Like, he does have the stretchiness of chewing gum and the texture and whatnot. So you're not wrong. It's just that when you're dealing with fictional stories, this is magic, and there's probably a sci-fi explanation for it, but magic is still the best explanation.
Even as everything is made of bubble gum.
Yeah, everything. Right. Okay, so Xavier with the super chat, he says Gohan would have beat Deborah if he really tried. Also, do you guys think Babidi could control Piccolo, Frieza, or Cell with magic? Oh,
I think
man,
he could have controlled Frieza or Cell for sure. Well, the thing
you think Piccolo's too headstrong?
Well, Piccolo does have a lot of pride in his own ideology, but he doesn't have. Okay, so what he does, like we saw this in the previous volume, is that what Babidi does is he uses people's selfishness to manipulate them. So he would have to find something that Piccolo has within him that's still selfish, that's also associated with violence, that he can manipulate him to, commit violence. And I just don't see that that's really the case with Piccolo, because Piccolo doesn't. I mean, he probably has selfish motives, but I don't think any of his selfish motives are based in violence like Vegeta's.
Yeah, so by this point, Vegeta or Piccolo's arc is complete. Vegeta's still kind of a butthurt bitch over the Goku thing. Also, I do think that if it were a younger Piccolo, like early Saiyan saga prior to the Gohan thing, yeah, for sure, easily. So, all right, the next super chat here is from Wheat3 Lighter. Do you guys think if Goku went back into the time chamber, he would have gotten knocked out by making Vegeta cry? I guess he's saying
Goku went back into the time chamber, he wouldn't have gotten knocked out by. Yeah, I have no idea.
Oh, okay. Do you think if Goku went back to the time chamber, he wouldn't have gotten knocked out by making Vegeta? It's just weird the way he worded it. I don't know what. Goku wasn't going to go back in the time chamber. There was no way for him to go back in there because they're literally in the middle of a problem. Is Goku gonna leave with all these new villains popping up and leave Gohan by himself against Vegeta, Deborah, Babidi? Dude, I don't understand how that would even make sense, bro. That's not something he would ever do. It's just like there's no way I can make that fit into this. Justin says, considering Majin Buu is inspired of Arabian mythology, partially so, it's fitting that he would appear out of a puff of smoke like a genie. Yeah. Yes, and we actually see more of that smoke later on. I do want to, before I get to the next comment from Xavier, address Majin Buu's look. So Majin Buu's the first fat, like heavy, not like the first main villain that was like a heavy set guy, and he wound up being my favorite villain when I was in high school because I was a very overweight high school kid, and I would always clown on Vegeta fans because Majin Buu, and we're gonna see this on this stream later today, humiliates Vegeta. And Majin Buu being this strong, when you look at the original manga continuity, he never lost a fight except to himself. The only two fights that Majin Buu lost in this entire arc were against evil versions of himself. He never lost to Vegeta, never lost to Gohan, never lost to Goku. Not this Majin Buu, not fat Majin Buu. Now, Majin Buu is modeled after Akira Toriyama's last editor, Fuyuto Takeda. Now, what I find funny about this is that if you actually look up a picture of Mr. Takeda, he doesn't even look fat. But in Japan, when you're in a country where 98% of the population looks like this, even if you're a little chunky, it wasn't like he was a sumo wrestler. You know, that's not how he looked. He was just a little bit of a chunkier face.
Yeah.
Toriyama just makes him totally fat. It's just like
He
how
exaggerated
for
the hell out of it.
Torishima, he took the big afro and gave it to Mashirita, but made the afro bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, he
So
does
what do you
tend
think?
to exaggerate stuff like that.
What do you think about Majin Buu's design? Like, let me rephrase the question. What did you think when you first saw it, and what do you think about it now?
Well, you know, when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is his first form." That's
So you knew there was more coming.
Well, I just assumed it because Frieza had
They never said that, but continue.
Well, they don't. But Frieza had multiple forms. Cell had multiple forms. It's just, you know, that's where we're headed at this point. Like, you know, most of the main villains have transformations at this time. So I was like, oh, well, this is his first form. That was my first thought. And you know, I like the design. I don't have an issue with it. I do think that it's like an interesting design because it does have that kind of genie aesthetic, which is cool.
The little blazer he's got that won't close.
Yeah, and it's cool because, you know, Bobbity was trying to summon him to, like, in a weird way, kind of grant his wishes too. So it's like whenever I first saw this, my head was centered around that kind of stuff. I did think that, and actually that got fed later whenever I read some mistranslations of the manga where they actually referred to Boo as a genie. For a little while, I actually thought Boo was a genie, and then I found out that's not the case at all. But like,
yes.
You know, I did like really. I guess more than anything, I guess part of the reason that it was like really easily digestible for me when I first saw them is because of like the themes of it, like the genie themes, the Arabian themes, and stuff like that. I thought it was kind of a breath of fresh air for the series, so I was just like, okay, well, this is interesting and cool. I don't think I like freaked out too much. I don't think I had like a shocking reaction to how he looked. I think I was just like very matter of factly like, oh, this is the first form, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't at all hint there were more forms yet. That would be later on in the arc, but it's Dragon Ball, like you said. You can only assume. Yeah. One of the things I find interesting about the design is that he's got these baggy white pants. And I didn't notice this when I first saw him, but the way that it's drawn, it's almost like a diaper.
Yeah.
And Majin Buu does have a lot of childlike like he's very childlike in nature. Now, one of the things that I'll never forget this because I remember watching it on television when it first aired, that I despised about the Majin Buu English dub. In the Japanese dub, Majin Buu spoke in complete sentences. He wasn't like saying, "Me kill you, boom, boom." But when I watched the dub, Majin Buu talks like how Mr. Popo talks. Me mad. Me come after you. You hurt Hercule. That is not how Mr. Satan talks. I mean, that is not how Majin Buu talks.
Right.
He's never talked like that. And listen, I've talked to Josh Martin about this. I've told him, I'm like, I do not like the fact that the dub did that because it made him even dumber. Because Majin Buu's not dumb. He's very childlike, like Goku, but he's not dumb. He does learn the Kamehameha after seeing it once. He's not an idiot, but they made him feel even more dumb in the dub.
Yeah, I think it kind of contradicts the idea that what makes him pure is the Grand Supreme Kai, because the Grand Supreme Kai was a martial arts expert. He was a prodigy. I mean, like,
but we didn't know that yet. That's
true.
Been revealed yet.
In terms of like, whenever I think about like what's wrong with that characterization, yes, it does dumb him down, and that is bad. But I think what bothers me the most about it is it kind of like discounts the idea that what's different about his personality is the Grand Supreme Kai. Like it kind of ruins that
the
idea.
lighthearted nature of the character.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just like this Majin Buu's design because it's different from any of the other villains we've gotten. We had like the insect-like thing with Cell. We had the alien thing with Frieza. Obviously, Vegeta is kind of like the Prince and the Pauper version of Goku. and I've always liked how Toriyama's villains have all kind of looked different until Goma, who's supposed to look like Jiren because he's a mix of Jiren and Pilaf. But I get that reference, and people who are subscribed to this channel, you get it too. So Xavier here says, to me, Pui Pui represents Saiyan Saga Vegeta, Yakan represents Frieza, and Dabura represented Cell and Majin Buu. Cell and Majin Buu is above all of them. I think he's talking about thematically. What do you think about that?
I mean, I could kind of see like the Pui Pui thing like being a callback to Saiyan Saga Vegeta, because I talked about that in the Mangalorian.
Last week.
And I can also kind of see Yakon being a reference to Frieza, because that's whenever Vegeta sees that Super Saiyan Goku is so much more powerful, Super Saiyan 2 Goku is so much more powerful than him, which is very similar to what he found out on Namek. So I can kind of see that. It is kind of like him reliving all of the events that made him have the feelings that he has towards Goku. Like, it is like a miniature version of that, but it's not like super blatant. It's just like you can kind of tell that Vegeta, the environment really kind of feeds into that, not just the enemies, but Vegeta's attitude, I think, is the biggest factor, because you could tell that he's kind of like slowly devolving into what he was before, even back then. So I can kind of see it,
And something else to add to what he's saying, Vegeta was able to beat Pui Pui in his base form.
Yep.
So he didn't have to transform to get the W. Justin says, however, Boo has a very outlandish design. He looks like a three-way cross between Kirby, James Corden, and a Teletubby. Yeah, actually, the Kirby comparisons were made even going back to the 90s by a lot of my friends. Especially the fact that Kirby can eat people and take on their power. And this is not the last time or the first time that Toriyama's taken inspiration from video games. Toriyama has assisted in making a lot of video games. He's been involved in the creation of video games, especially in the art department. So that's for sure a thing. And Kirby, by the time this manga came out, was already like Nintendo. The Super Famicom had been around already for over a decade, give or take. So Mario, Link, Kirby, these were pop culture icons over there way before they were over here. I do want to ask you, though, a bit of a sidebar. Why do you think that Kirby didn't get, like, there's a lot of good Kirby games. Why do you think that Kirby didn't really catch on in America like Mario and Link did?
Because he's a cutesy character, and a lot of kids.
He's got cool powers, though.
He does have cool powers, but if you remember back in the day, like, kids were way more vicious about you participating in anything that was even the slightest bit not masculine. Imagine like going
that now, bro.
Yeah, imagine going from playing a wrestling video game to playing Kirby. Like, try playing a wrestling game with your buddies back in the day, like the same buddies that you would play a wrestling game with. Try switching to Kirby and see the reaction. Like, it wouldn't go very well, most of the time, if they were, the stuck up type of people that I dealt with when I was younger. But like, it's just, people have had to slowly, basically like lower their inhibitions when it comes to that kind of thing. Like it used to be way less common or accepted for people to play even like just random Japanese games. You get made fun of that stuff for that stuff back in the day, like anything like Japanese related, it's, there was a lot of
but
people.
the joke's on them, because 80% of the games that they played, video games, were from Japan. And and many of them knew it. Like, anybody who was like anti-Japan, anti-anime, but loved Street Fighter 2, you're a fucking idiot. Like, you're an idiot.
What I think funny about it is that I knew people who would make fun of Kirby, but then they would bring Pokemon cards to school. And I'm like, how is that any different? Like,
Kirby was the first Pokemon.
Yeah, like, what? Like, that's no different. There's like, oh, Pokemon are cool. It's that kind of thing.
That's dumb high school kids, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So Xavier then goes on to say, imagine if high school Danny hand a candy beam like Boo. Brother, I would have turned everyone into candy, especially some of the girls, let me tell you. All right. Alvarez says, Geekdom, can you do a Punisher and Sopranos season reviews? Well, if you're talking about the old show, I haven't watched it yet. Sopranos, I only saw the first season. And more movie reviews. These are on World of Geekdom. Any of the movie content, the non-Dragon Ball content, wrestling, video games, and movies are all over on World of Geekdom. And then he goes on to ask Dragon Ball question. You also think Gogeta SSJ or SSJ2 in the Broly movie 7 could have beat Z Broly? I'm not sure why he wrote movie 7.
I think
Broly.
I think he's thinking that Broly's is the strongest in that film.
Oh, I see what he means. Hold on.
Yeah.
He's saying Gogeta Super Saiyan or 2 in the Broly movie could beat Z Broly. I think he's talking about Super Broly. So he's talking about.
And he's trying to see if Super Gogeta could beat Z Broly. And yes,
right. But I think he's scaling the Super Gogeta from Broly, not from Janemba.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it sounds like he's scaling. Brother, let me tell you something.
Okay, well, I mean, Gogeta did beat Super Broly in blue, and Super Broly is way stronger than Z Broly in my opinion. But I do think that Super Saiyan 2 or Super Saiyan Gogeta could easily beat old Z Broly, in my opinion.
I'll take it a step further. I think base Gogeta could have whooped up on Z Broly's ass. If we're talking about base Gogeta from the Broly movie, the one that came out in 2019 and 2020, if that's the one we're talking about, he would have killed Z Broly. At that point, the powers, I mean, we're so beyond where Broly was at. It's like ages, bro. Ages. You know what I mean? Ages. The new stuff like Super just goes to a higher level of power. Okay, so next chapter, chapter 461. This is Majin Buu. Now we see Majin Buu, and one of the cool things I've always liked about him is that notice he's smiling, like, and it's not really from my first perspective of the character. It's not that he's like smiling in a sinister way. I think he's actually just jolly. He's a jolly fat man, and it's rare for us to see a villain smiling. So we already know that this is going to be a different type of cat. Like, this is not the one thing I like about Majin Buu, and you cannot argue this no matter how much you hate the Majin Buu saga. I'm going to make a point right now that is a fact. Unlike a lot of other villains in Dragon Ball and in other media, this Majin Buu is the opposite of a mustache twirling Saturday morning cartoon villain. This villain is so different from a lot of what had come out. Like, how many villains are like this? Just the way they act, just it's Toriyama had balls to make a character like this.
Basically, he is like a baby who doesn't understand the difference between right and wrong, who destroys things as a result of that. And that is like I've seen that kind of trope before in different shows, but it's rare,
Don Hoop says, what will be next after the Mangalorian when the Boost chapter ends? Well, we're probably going to do Jocko and maybe Neko Majin or some of the one-shots. But this Mangalorian is not meant to go on forever. This stream series was only supposed to cover the original Toriyama works. We're not going to get into Super because there's way too many other fingers in the pot. And I've already got Super reviews on my channel. You've got them on yours. We'll still do like videos together whenever the Super stuff is coming out. We'll still do Sayuki stuff. But the Mangalorian was not meant to be like an infinite series. It's supposed to be a series that you can go to in like 10 years, find the playlist, and just follow along. That's what it's supposed to have an ending, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, no, we're not doing Slump. We're not We
Yeah,
are
Slump is
not
way
doing
too
Slump.
long, guys. That would be
It's
great.
also it's also defeats the purpose of us doing this, because even though I love Slump is episodic and has a bunch of jokes, not really a lot of analysis there.
Yeah,
It's like nothing but Slump is like The Simpsons. It's like just a sitcom,
yeah.
and that's why I like it. So okay, so the only one who's seen Majin Buu is Kaioshin, and that is true. And basically he's over here. I love how he says, "I'll never forget that terrifying face." And then when you look at his face, it's just smiling. He's just
Yeah, he's like
smiling. Just
stretching and like acting goofy.
yeah, and they don't know what he's gonna do. And I like the unpredictability of it all. Gohan looking like a badass. Here we have Goku and Vegeta completely tearing each other up. We told you guys last week that the vast majority of the Majin Vegeta Goku fight in the anime was filler done by Tadayoshi Yamamuro. And that's an example of good filler, because I do like the extra scenes of that fight in the anime. The manga version of that fight isn't as good, but we do pick up here because these two shots were in the anime. They were about to fight, but then Goku's like, "Wait a minute, there's something going on." So this is where Goku and Vegeta both sense Majin Buu, and now Vegeta's over here saying, "Okay, well now I want to know how strong he is." Typical. Goku wants to stop the fight. And Vegeta's like, "No, I ain't stopping this fight." Poor Vegeta, man. Well, nah, fuck him. He's being very selfish. So Boo, Boo does a little joke where he basically scares Babidi, and Babidi runs off and he laughs at him. So this is kind of Toriyama showing him how he's basically a little kid. He does this little whoop, 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 whoop. And if you watch the anime, he's like, boo, boo, boo,
Yeah,
boo, boo, boo. He's just
yeah.
being goofy. And he goes up to Dabura, and Dabura's like, "Oh, you want to fight me?" And it's like, and then here comes the steam. What do you think about the steam like a tea kettle?
I've always loved it. It's one of my favorite things about like his expressions. Like I think it's awesome.
I like it too. I like it too. I like it too. Okay. Hold on. Okay, this is from White Lighter, where he says, "My last super chat about the time chamber was a joke about Trenton." Oh yeah, because he wants to go back in the time chamber. Yeah, Trenton. That was from several weeks ago, bro. He got me so fucking flustered I broke my mic. Because how many times can you point to a manga panel and have somebody just say "nuh-uh" before
That's
you
the
go
first.
nuts?
That was the first sinister look we got from Boo right before he attacked Dabra there.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that's the first sinister look that I gave Trenton after
No,
not leaving me alone
that is
about the
funny,
time
though.
chamber, bro. So yeah, so now this is interesting. Boo pulls a John Jones and goes right for the eyes. And it's actually worse in the manga because you actually see his eyes bleeding. So, I mean, if you're going to go for the eyes, bro,
Yeah, that's dirty ball for sure.
it's dirty, but it's also like you really are trying to hurt this man. This is not a fight like a Goku and tournament battle. This is like, no, we're gonna scrap like on the streets. Kicks the shit out
Yeah.
of Deborah, sends him flying back. He's a nothing. He gets rocked, and then here Babidi is marking out. He's like, "Oh, that was amazing. Okay. We really got something here." And then here Gohan notes that Majin Buu's ki spiked up. So even though they're sensing Majin Buu's ki,
Yeah.
like them, he has the ability to raise and lower it at will, and he raises it right before he attacks, which makes him a very dangerous opponent because you really don't know what you're going up against.
Yeah, and that's how he misled Vegeta just now as well, because Vegeta thinks that Boo is a joke at this point, and he couldn't be further from wrong.
Right. Toriyama brings us back to Goten and Trunks, and then back to, of course, the fathers. You know, and again here, Goku notices that his ki has increased, and then Vegeta notices it too. Like, wait a minute, this is bad. Like, this could actually be an issue. But Vegeta still wants to keep fighting. He still wants to do it.
Well, he's fighting
And
a physical reputation. He's fighting a physical representation of the part of himself that he's trying to kill off. Like when he talks about the change that like Goku's causing in him, beating Goku is him beating that change. So like in
Yep.
Goku's mind,
Yep.
he's like thinking of Goku as like symbolically as like what he's becoming in a way. So it's like, yeah, he's very desperate to beat him.
Now, and right here, it goes to that where Goku straight up tells Vegeta he'll kill everyone, including Bulma and Trunks, because he knows that that's his family now. And Vegeta's like, no, I don't care. I allowed Babidi to take control so I can dispose of that kind of feeling. I don't give a damn about anyone who dies. And then Goku's like, that's not true. You're not completely under Babidi's control, which is true. But that is true, what Goku said. Vegeta has not forgotten about Bulma and Trunks. He tried to forget, but Bulma and Trunks and his connection to them, his affinity to them, is way too deep into Vegeta, and Vegeta's way too headstrong.
Yeah,
So no.
Yeah.
Say what?
They're a part of his pride. Like he has pride in both of them as his family. So it's like it doesn't matter that Bobity's trying to use his pride against him because his family is a part of his pride. So it kind of backfires in that sense.
Yeah, and he's also trying to bullshit Goku. He's like, oh, Babidi made me evil. And Goku's like, that's not what happened here, dude. Like, and it's not what happened. But Vegeta let Babidi give him the boost, but never let him totally take over his mind.
Yeah.
And Vegeta was able to do dastardly things, but he didn't have full control of him. It's sort of like the conflicted nature of like Darth Vader in The Empire Strikes Back and then Return of the Jedi, where he's definitely an agent of evil. He's a member of the dark side, but Luke, when he sees Luke Skywalker as his son, it's like his soft side opens up. So there's an internal conflict. That's what's going on with Vegeta. But Goku's words do sting because Vegeta says, okay, you're going to be distracted by this. Let's put our fight on hold.
Yeah.
That's what Vegeta says. Of course, here, they're like, give me a Senzu. Now, the way this was done in the anime, the way that it's shot, and I'm not the only one that said this, folks. I know many of you in the chat, when you first saw this in Dragon Ball Z, it looks almost like Goku knows that Vegeta is going to hit him and let him knock him out. And that's not what happened.
No.
He did. Yeah, he was looking down at the pouch of Senzu, not at Vegeta. But the way the camera angle was, it was almost like Goku knew, okay, knock me out, go do your thing. That is not something Goku would do at this moment, nor did he want to do it, nor did it make sense, because when Goku does wake up later, he's like, what the hell happened? So, but if you thought that, I can't blame you, because the camera angle and the way it was shot does look like that. But if you see it here in the manga, the way Toriyama uses his paneling, you can clearly see that Goku is looking at the pouch, not at Vegeta.
Can you believe there's people out there that say that this is a win for Vegeta?
I used to say that, bro. I mean, I don't say it now, but I used to say it.
Yeah,
I used to say that this and when Great Ape Vegeta crunched Goku's bones was a win for him.
I definitely wouldn't consider this a win. This is like if you like walked up to somebody's car and you sucker punched them through the window and then called it a win. You know,
it's definitely
kind
a
of
sucker punch. No,
Yeah.
You're right. It's definitely a sucker punch.
Yeah.
A lot of people do call it a win, though. I did at one time before I even knew you, like way back, but not like anytime lately.
Yeah, it's got that same energy as like, you know, that guy that like goes around telling everybody they beat somebody's ass, and then you find out that they like sucker punched them through the car window. It's literally got that. It's got that energy.
Yeah, except that in this case, Vegeta's doing it for believe it or not, unselfish reasons. He knocks
Yeah, it's
Goku
interesting.
out. Huh?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And then here, Vegeta says, even you letting your guard down at a time like this, you're right. It's my fault that Boo was freed. So I'll be the one who takes care of him. I'll deal with you later if I'm still alive. So we need to talk a little bit about Vegeta's character here and what's going on. First, let me get these super chats that we got that came in recently here. Wait a minute, hold on. I went. That's not the one I meant to go to. There's one a little bit earlier. There we go. Okay, so Xavier says, if Dabura spat on Boo, does he break free somehow? I don't know if the spitting will actually work on him because he's a magical based creature. He's fully magical.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I would say that if he did like try to spit on him, he would probably just like disintegrate like the spit. He would just like power up and just destroy it. He'd probably figure out some like really unique, cool way to like, stop it from happening. But yeah, I don't know. It may not work on him at all. I don't know. It's a cool idea.
Yep. Now, Enigma Music says, would you say Dabur is stronger than Cell? Well, there's a video here on this channel that I made not too long ago that goes into that fight. So what I would advise you to do is right here on this very same channel, hit the videos tab and scroll down or do a search on the channel, Dabura versus Cell. I did that video already. I broke it down power by power, statement by statement, and that video is where you're going to get the best answer because we start talking about that now, it's going to go down a rabbit hole and we're going to get off topic here. Alvarez says Vegeta with MUI or Ego, no time limit versus Whis Broly potential unlocked with SS God. Where would you scale him? Dude, this is literally like an Ask FM question from 2005 or 2015, bro. Vegeta with MUI or Ego, no time limit versus Whis Broly potential unlocked with SS God. Oh my God. Do I really got to answer that right now, bro? What do you think, Jordan?
I think it's a nonsensical question, but I'll give you my answer.
Well, it's a funny question. I agree. It's just so out of left field.
I don't think that even Goku and Vegeta fused as Vegito could beat Whis right now.
I agree with that.
Especially if they had Ultra Ego. I mean, Ego is not superior to Ultra Instinct. It would probably take an Ultra Instinct Vegito to keep up. Broly with his potential unlocked and Super Saiyan God is like a meaningless thing because there's a difference between having his potential unlocked and being in a Super Saiyan God form. Like they kind of treat the ultimate state as like a separate transformation. So I mean, you're
Totally
really just
different.
asking. You're really just asking how strong would Broly be with Super Saiyan God, and he would be ridiculously strong. I won't deny that, but
he would. But part of his power is how he's an animal. But I agree with you. I think Vegito would. I think MUI Vegito would beat Super Saiyan God Broly. I think Whis, though, same thing that you said, bro. Same thing that you said. It's I don't think that would happen.
yeah.
Whis has not broken a sweat ever. And until he does, that's all we can do.
Yeah.
Anyways, so let's talk about Vegeta's character here. So Vegeta knocks out Goku. This is a very important part of Vegeta's character arc because now we're actually going to see the arc. Vegeta, for the first time since I don't know when, actually does something alpha and takes accountability for his actions. He knows this is all his fault. Goku was right. Babidi didn't turn him completely evil. He knows that Majin Buu is his responsibility and his responsibility alone because they were down there to do that, and he was the one that got really, really selfish. And so Vegeta, in his mind now, says, I'm going to handle this myself. I don't want you to interfere. I want the glory to myself. But this last line right here, if I'm still alive, is very eerie foreshadowing, because that basically tells us that Vegeta knows this is a suicide mission, and he knows that there is a chance he might not be able to beat Majin Buu. Now, I'm not saying that at this point he knew he was going to blow himself up. That might have been in the back of his head, but he knew that he might not survive. And this is a really interesting, really interesting a moment with Vegeta. And to me, in my opinion, is my favorite thing about the Majin Buu saga, is the conclusion of Vegeta's character arc here, where he finally takes responsibility for putting everyone's life in danger. What do you want to add to that?
It reminds me a lot of Piccolo's arc, because Goku did give Piccolo a reason to try to be a better person in the sense of like practicing martial arts. So when Goku encouraged Piccolo to practice martial arts, that kind of tamed the evil things that he would normally do, because as a martial artist, you have to focus on martial arts. You don't have time to focus on committing evil acts. You have to focus on martial arts. So like Goku was like the first push that Piccolo needed to become a better person. But it wasn't actually Goku by himself that made Vegeta or made Piccolo a better person. It was also Gohan. It was his connection to Gohan. So this kind of fits that same thing that he did with Piccolo, where Goku is part of the answer in terms of like changing the person. Like he's a big part of the equation, but he's not the only necessary part of the equation. They also need somebody that they need to care about and have pride in and think about his family. And in that
His
case,
family.
we've got Bulma and Trunks. So it reminds me a lot of like it's almost like at this point Toriyama kind of had it figured out, like what exactly the process was he had developed for purifying characters, like purifying their hearts, and he's basically like applying that to Vegeta here. So yeah, I agree with you. Like it's really well done. It's one of my favorite things about.
And to add to what you're saying, one of the things I will say about the English dub, and that I'll give them credit for, is that the episode where Vegeta goes to fight Buu, I think it's called Final Atonement. And the word atonement is not a word that you see used a lot when it comes to daily English vernacular. Atonement, or atoning for your sins, is a concept in religion where you basically realize that you've sinned, and so you have to atone for it by doing something to make up for it. So if you, for example, steal from, let's say you stole a goat from your neighbor, you would replace the goat, or you might even replace it with two goats. That's atonement. You're making a sacrifice to make up for a sin that you committed. And that's something that I always thought was really powerful. And I remember when I saw that episode dubbed, I was like, I'm glad they're using this word, but are the kids going to really get it? Because a lot of the kids didn't know what the hell that meant. But I do like that a lot. I do like, and that's what's happening with Vegeta, because Vegeta went from not giving a damn about Bulma and Trunks to spending a year with Trunks in the Room of Spirit and Time, and avoiding him and not really caring, but then little by little slowly realizing that they are blood related. And then when Trunks gets killed by Cell, we see Vegeta's anger unleashed, and now Vegeta's raising his timeline's version of the same Trunks that he met. It's not exactly the same person, but it's still his son. And during those 7 years when Goku wasn't around, Vegeta got really close to Bulma and Trunks. You can only help getting close to a wife, no matter how much of a space warrior you are. When you're what's the word? Civilized. When you become civilized, you can't help but get attached to Bulma, who's feeding you, who's taking care of you, giving you a roof, because that's all her place, not his. And to your own son, because when you look at your son, he's like a little version of you. Like it's just, it's like very real, dude. It's very real.
It's very real, and it's like the special bond that Toriyama talked about when it came to Bardock and Gine as well. Like he has that like same like super special connection to them that he doesn't have to like other people typically. Like I think it's very important narratively, and it is very well done for sure.
No, it's to me, it's. I'm just gonna say this. In my opinion, the Vegeta arc, like the Vegeta character arc, from where we see him at the beginning to where he ends up in this arc, is to me the best character arc, not story arc, character arc in the entirety of not just Dragon Ball Z, the entire manga. I feel
Yeah.
like even though there are parts of the manga earlier that I think are more consistently stronger as far as writing goes and consistency, you can't deny that the way that Toriyama wrote Vegeta, and remember, this is a guy who did not plan this. He said himself in interviews that Vegeta was not meant to be a recurring character at first, that he didn't like Vegeta. So he had to sort of create those building blocks as the manga progressed, not forgetting about the past and thinking about the future. And this guy Toriyama made the best character arc for Vegeta. I think it's the best one. Piccolo had a great one. Goku had a great one. Gohan had a great one. Vegeta's to me is the most powerful. My opinion. What do you think?
No, I have to agree because Vegeta is the most, to me, Vegeta is the most reminiscent of like what Goku, the main character, would have went through in terms of a character arc if he had never become a better person and was just like a stereotypical Saiyan. It's like, it's kind of like the character arc that we never got to see, like Vegeta is so much like, what Goku would have been had he been evil, that it has a lot of narrative weight in that sense, not just in terms of Vegeta's character. Just the fact that you're seeing all this happen with Vegeta as a character has a lot of weight, but also the connection that it has to the overall story and the narrative. And Goku as a character also has it carry a lot of weight too. So yeah, I agree. It probably is the best character arc.
Yep. Don Hoops with the super chat. Thank you. He says, spoke to my friend who wants to be like Goku that moved to Japan. He's still trying to do a Kamehameha and go Super Saiyan. Don't know what to say at this point to him. Well, this is referencing a super chat that he sent us maybe like 3 streams ago. Yeah. Listen, bro, if you have a friend who's literally like sitting there trying to power up and fire ki blasts, what's going to happen to him is, even though he's in Japan, he's going to end up ending up with the white coats and getting put in a padded cell, bro. If he's running around Tokyo like challenging random people to fight, bro, like he's going to end up, I don't know what we're dealing with here, Jordan. Nothing surprises me anymore, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, good luck to your friend.
Good. Yeah. Now I want to address, this is a new story concept that's going to be important for this stream and the next stream. They'll recover this because this is a very important aspect of the Baba D Majin Buu relationship. Baba D reveals to Majin Buu that if Majin Buu does not listen to him, if Majin Buu does not follow his orders, he has the spell to put him back into the ball, trap him again. So Majin Buu at this point is basically a slave and has to do whatever Babidi says for him to do. And that's an interesting dynamic, because this Majin Buu is not somebody who is doing things of his own volition. He's just following orders, and that already makes him different than Cell or Frieza, because those two and Demon King Piccolo, because they never had that problem.
Yeah, he's like a weapon that's being implemented,
Yep. And so then that begs the question, at this point, not later on, at this point, you could say that Babidi is the real villain of this arc.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of like the little guy bossing the big guy around. Like whenever a manga or a cartoon does that, it's always fun. Yeah. Sasuke Uchiha says, Geekdom 101, can you put Majin Vegeta's sacrifice theme from DBC Budokai 3 when Majin Vegeta does final explosion when the manga panel comes up? No, bro, I don't want to listen. I don't want to have to go through my files. If I do that, right, I would have to literally open up a folder, dig through my music files, find that track. No, I can't do that, dude. I'm sorry. That would take way too long. Like, we'd be sitting here, Jordan would be sitting there waiting for me to find the file, and that would just take forever. Like, so, you know, you're feel free to, you know,
Vibe
open
out.
up a
Yeah, put it
YouTube.
on your own screen. Vibe out to it, bro.
Yeah. Alvarez says, how much stronger could Vegeta and Goku be in the Buu arc if they trained together since the Saiyan saga? Which Z movie? Bro,
Okay, so
you're asking,
multiple
hold on,
questions.
you're asking a lot of questions. He asking like 3 different questions. Let me address them one at a time. Okay. How much stronger could Vegeta and Goku be in the Buu arc if they trained together like since the Saiyan saga? I think a lot stronger because unlike the children, those two guys bring out the best in each other, and we see that in Super. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I think they could be a lot stronger too. I don't think they would use the time chamber to do that, but I do think that they could get stronger.
Yeah, he's just got a lot. You got like a lot of questions, dude. But I'll get to him. He then says, which Z movie could have been its own arc? Any of them. If you want to expound upon it, you could have made an arc out of any of them. You know, I mean, Janimba was kind of redone as the Super 17 arc, so that they did do that. Hirudegarn with more backstory could have had its own arc. And Garlic Jr. did get its own arc. So there are examples of this, you know?
Yeah.
Do you have one?
No, I just agree with you that they're kind of set up like mini arcs. Like I agree with you.
Yeah, they're mini. They're yeah. It's a short story. You would have to add like none of the movies by themselves could be arcs. You would have to add story, plot, change the pacing. You'd have to make changes.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to say thoughts on Frieza's fifth form. Frieza's fifth form is either Mecha Frieza or Golden Frieza, depending on which way you want to look at things. But it's definitely not the same as Cooler's fifth form because, as far as we know, that's just his.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of fan art of what would be Frieza's fifth form.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on here. Now, basically, they want, you know, he's over here thinking, okay, if I'd known that you Saiyans who are even stronger than myself existed, I would have, and I would have another plan. It's like another plan, which his other plan, he says it's too late. We can't escape. We're going to perish. His other plan would have actually been to take him to go train with the Z sword. Like we do see it. But it's too late now because they're in the middle of the fight. So moving on. Bobbity, I know we have super chats. I want to get through this chapter. Then we'll get to the super chats. Bobbity says his first executive order is to kill those two. And then Gohan's like, we got to get the fuck out of here. So Gohan thinks that because Majin Buu's overweight, that he's faster than him. And that's his first mistake. Buu charges up and then flies at an incredible speed and actually goes ahead of Gohan.
Yeah, he just literally stopped right in front of him.
Yeah, the Z sword. Yeah, the Z sword. I don't understand what that stutter. I don't know why that's confusing you. That is, if Kaioshin had known that the Saiyans were stronger, he would have probably arrived on Earth sooner
and been like, "Hey, let's go grab the Z sword." Yeah,
right. But they can't now. So, you know. Okay, moving on. So he knocks Gohan on his ass. Now we're seeing Super Saiyan 2 Gohan in deep doo-doo. I'm a huge fan of this part right here, where Kaioshin actually tries to hurt him, does nothing to Majin Buu, and then Majin Buu does the ear clap, bro. By the way, don't ever do that to somebody, because if you hit them hard enough, you could actually knock out their hearing.
Yep. Yeah, and you could tell that it hurt Kaioshin. Wow.
Yep. And then to make things, you know, to add insult to injury, Boo bonks him with a closed fist and knocks him down like one of them. What do you call that game where you're using a hammer to hit? Whack-a-mole. Yes, whack-a-mole. An overwhelming, bizarre power. So this is all about Boo just being too much for them. Kaioshin tries to use, you know, his ki by actually using the force to push Boo back with the telekinetic blast. But Boo has his own, fires one back at him. Down he goes, and Babidi is just talking shit. He's just straight up talking trash. Gohan manages to kick Boo away. He wants to escape with Supreme Kai, but then Majin Buu fires a blast, and this was incredible to see. When I first saw this in the anime, bro, it blew my mind, and seeing it here, it does again. Look at the pain on Gohan's face. Majin Buu fires a ki blast so powerful that it knocks Gohan completely out of the battlefield. It's almost like a ring out in a tournament. He is gone, and he's not coming back. We have never seen, up until this point, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan get rattled like this.
Yeah, he's getting rattled for sure. Yeah.
Xavier says, what duo do you like more? Trunks with Gohan or Goten? Ooh.
I like Goten and Trunks more. I just think they're more entertaining in general.
Yeah, but future Trunks and future Gohan work well together.
They do work well together. I think
for that story.
Yeah, narratively they're cool, but I think that Goten and Trunks are more entertaining together in general.
That's probably true. I think I would agree with that answer. And that is, and with Trunks is also more so adult Trunks than kid Trunks. Kid Trunks and Gohan never really have that many scenes together. Justin Sullivan says how Boo caught up to Gohan was like Big Lizzo charging towards a local food court. That's good, bro. That is good. Or me in high school. Yes, I've done a lot of whacking, my friend. I'm glad that you've heard my humor before, and it's true. All right, so at this point, this is just a massacre. Gohan is blasted into this like little garden that's like far away from everything, and he is KTFO, bro. Look at this. Look at Gohan, bro. Look at Gohan. Alan says this is the start of his losing streak. What do you think about that?
I disagree. Gohan gets wrecked a lot.
But is it part of the streak?
No, I don't think so. I think that narratively, Gohan was lucky to beat Cell.
I don't know about luck. He was stronger. But Goku's the one that really pushed him.
That's why I said narratively. Because, like, most of the time when Gohan loses, it's because he makes some form of a mistake. And that happens pretty often. So,
yeah, and then Ultimate Gohan comes back, but then Ultimate Gohan lets his cockiness and arrogance take over, and he ends up losing ultimately when Boo absorbs Gotenks. So I guess in a way he's not wrong entirely in that Gohan does end up, this is the beginning of him kind of taking consistent L's, and it wouldn't really be until Superhero that he got to really, come back.
Fight in the Super Anime.
Say what?
He did win that one fight in the Super Anime. You remember that he also like had a tie with Kefla, but you remember that guy from the universe who had like a family?
Yeah, and the Tournament of Power, he had some W's, right?
Yeah.
You know what? That's true. He might not have been like the hero like 17 and Goku were, but he did. I think he did very well, especially in the manga version of the TOP.
Yeah. How ironic is it that Dabura is the one that saves Shin?
It's great, isn't it? Because and this is, and you know what's going on here. This is one of your favorite words, bro. One of the words that Jordan uses all the time. This is now about survival because Dabura knows Gohan, who he just got done fighting, is gone. Supreme Kai ain't gonna do shit. So Dabura's like, fuck it, I'll handle it. Now, this right here is not Dabura turning good. That's not what's happening here. Now it's about survival, and this is another one of his abilities that I love. He can materialize stabbing weapons like spears because he pokes Majin Buu right through the stomach, and there he is. I actually love this scene because what I love about this scene, y'all, in the manga and anime is that it genuinely feels like everybody is they have to do what they can or else they're all doomed. It reminds me of how in Daima, when Goma appears, you've got not just Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo joining the fight, you've got Dooku and Tamagami 1. And it's not because Dooku and Tamagami 1 are close friends with Goku, it's because they realize we need to beat this guy or else we're all dead.
Yeah.
And that's what Dabura's doing. You know, plus he's mad about the eyes.
Of course, yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question. Note or not ask you a question, give you a not a question, make a comment. Notice the M is gone from his forehead. That means that Babidi's control has been broken. Now, even if he still had it, he still would have got his ass kicked.
Yeah, and it's not just that he. I think it's interesting that he lost it and that he's basically waking up from being manipulated. Like, I think that's an interesting thing. Like, because, like, especially if you, within the context of Daima, like, you know, they were shocked that he could manipulate Dabura, like, at all. So I think it's really cool that Dabura's, like, waking up from, like, a hypnosis in some sense. I think that's cool.
But as Trenton pointed out in the chat, if Dabura had the third eye, Majin Buu would have been jobbed.
Yeah.
I was telling people that shit back in like, and I had not known exactly what they were going to do, but I've been telling people that shit going back to like October, September of last year, that the third eye, I think I said if Dabura had the third eye, he would have smoked Majin Buu and fucking Super Saiyan 3 Goku. And we literally see Goma doing it, you know, well, not Buu, but Goku. Justin Sullivan says, if Dabura had been using the spear to participate in the Olympics like how he hit Buu, he would have been disqualified and arrested for assault and battery. He would have been like Nancy Kerrigan. But remember that story with the chick who hid in the fucking the pipe back in the 90s?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, hold on. This guy says Danny likes Trenton more than me. No, it's not about liking or disliking a person. When he's right, he's right. When he's wrong, he's wrong. I'm very, look, I tell my friends all the time when they're wrong, even if they're my friends. It doesn't mean I don't love them. It doesn't mean I don't cherish them. No, as a friend, you need to tell your friends when they're wrong.
It's
and they need to tell me.
It's hilarious that Toriyama knew that Dabura was fixing to get beaten, so he had Goten and Trunks show up to screw with Piccolo and Krillin as statues. Because he's like, oh, well, Dabura's about to die, so this is the last time that I can play with this a little bit.
Accidentally knocking over the statue and breaking it, which in theory would have been the end. Okay, wait. 227060, was Buu this arc divisive in Japan like in the US? I haven't heard that. I hadn't heard that.
I kind of did.
Well, I think in some circles it may have been, but I'm with you. I think the likelihood is probably not, because Japan treated the Dragon Ball manga like one big story. And the reason is, or a reason as to why this arc is so divisive, not the only reason, is because people got into Dragon Ball Z in the Saiyan, Frieza, and Cell sagas, which were all super serious for the most part. And then the Buu saga is like more like OG Dragon Ball. And I think people just didn't know about Toriyama's different kind of, approaches or just tones. So I think that in Japan, they were probably more accepting of the Buu arc than they were here. But I mean, I honestly couldn't tell you the answer because I don't know. The only thing I know for sure about Japan is that, and this is something that is not the same in America. This is something that really applies just to Japan. There are people in Japan who absolutely will not watch the anime and only read Toriyama's manga. I know that sounds weird, and I know, like, think about it like this. Imagine if there were people, Harry Potter. Let's use Harry Potter. Everybody I know who has read the Harry Potter books has watched the movies, except for two people I know. And those two people say, I saw the first one. I don't want to see the rest of them. I am a book, like, what's the word, Jordan, when you're only hyper focused on the book?
She's just a book exclusive
Yeah,
fan?
I guess, yeah, because the book is the real canon.
Yeah.
So, but in Japan, there are people who never even saw the anime. Maybe they saw some of the
Oh,
movies.
you mean a purist is what
Yeah,
you
like
mean.
a manga purist. Yeah, and there's a lot of people who tried Super when it came out and did not like it. In fact, I remember I met a guy on YouTube who's Japanese, and he was playing Dragon Quest, right? And I remember we were talking in the chat. I was using my translator or whatever. We were, talking in English and Japanese, and he notices that I have the Frieza avatar from Dragon Ball, and I hear him Dragon Boru, Dragon Boru. Like I hear him talking about it, right? He said, this is an older guy, by the way. This guy's like in his late 40s. He said that he did read Dragon Ball when he was a kid, but he stopped at the 21st tournament. He never read anything past that. He knew about Frieza. Like everybody knew what was going on and kept up with the story. But think about for somebody in this country, Jordan, who would only go up to the Master Roshi thing and then just not continue for whatever reason. Like there's so few fans that have
Yeah.
been like that.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it?
It is strange. Yeah.
It's a very different thing, yeah. And he told me, he's like, yeah, that was kind of my favorite stuff, and after that, I didn't like it. So, I mean, the guy was a cool guy. I'm not gonna, I part of me wanted to tell him you should read it now and see if you like it now, but yeah, there's manga purists, bro. Anyways, we spent a lot of time on this question. That's why these questions, I don't want to spend too much time on some of these because we will get derailed and we have a lot more to cover. So now the M is back. The M is back. So that was an error on Toriyama's part. And he's talking about Babidi Boo will never be loyal. So the M has returned. And by the way, he's right about that. But neither are you. So what they do here is Boo pulls out the spear and then closes the hole. So this is like the first example of Majin Buu's regeneration. Toriyama's telling us he can do that. Buu says, I'm going to eat you. Vegeta's final death match. So Vegeta is about to go into the ship, but instead he's like, I'm going to blow up the ship to get them to notice me. And then Vegeta, look at this. This is very, very interesting. Vegeta cannot sense Gohan's ki, which, by the way, neither could Goku. There was a time
Well, they all thought he was dead. Yeah.
Where they all thought he was dead. How is it an error? Didn't I just show you a manga panel literally a minute ago where he didn't have the M?
Yeah.
I know okay. So Vegeta says, I'm sorry, Gohan. This is my fault. Now, to hear Vegeta say, I'm sorry, Gohan, that's pretty heavy, man.
It is. He's always kind of looked at Gohan as like a clean slate in terms of like, being a Saiyan. He did that with Gohan on Namek. Like he's always kind of looked at Gohan as like an example of like somebody who could learn to be something other than what Goku is. And I think that's part of the reason that he has like a soft spot for Gohan, because he doesn't think that Gohan's been ruined like Goku, So
Look, Magan, no M, and then the M is back. That's the error. So it's just big for Vegeta to say, I'm sorry. Boo starts to dance and say he's going to eat him. He tries to attack. Boo immediately fires his antenna blast at him and turns him into a cookie. I think people have mistakenly called it like the candy beam. And that makes sense because Boo mostly does candy, but he can turn you into anything. Remember, there's an episode of the anime where he manifests a toilet because he had to take a shit. And do you remember that? He creates a toilet and like a porta potty, and he goes inside of it to take a shit. And and this is after everyone's dead in the world. He destroyed everyone on Earth, and he's like, I need a bathroom. I need a bathroom. And he makes a porta potty to take a shit. And it's like, bro, you killed everyone on Earth already. No one's gonna see your ass. Just take a dump right there. Wipe it with a leaf and move. That's the wackiness of Dragon Ball, bro. He didn't want nobody to see his dick or his ass, even though he killed everybody already.
Yep. Somebody said that the fight between Goku and Vegeta was fair because Goku's body was enhanced because he was a soul and not a human. That's not true. Goku is in a mortal body. That's the entire reason that he can't use Super Saiyan 3 that long. Like, Goku is not, like, enhanced right now. He was while he was dead, but he's not, like, enhanced by being, like, he has a time. Like, if anything, it kind of handicaps him to be in the body that he's in right now. So I don't know
what he means by enhanced, though. I don't think he's using the right word, though. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think the word enhanced can be replaced by another word. He's in a different state, is what really it is.
Yeah.
Like, he's not alive, but he's not a ghost. He has a body that was granted to him by the gods to have him keep, like, basically the Kais let him keep his body.
Yeah, but
not an earth body.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, bro.
It makes sense.
It makes sense, especially for the Eastern. Xavier says most manga purists hate filler in anime. Yes, that's true, Xavier. But what I'm talking about is there are people who read manga and never even watch the anime. Like, what I mean is there's people in Japan who have read Dragon Ball start to finish multiple times. Like, they read it again. It's like one of their favorite manga, but they never bothered to watch the anime. And that's different from saying I prefer the manga. They just have never seen the anime. I mean, bro, even Herms, when I first met Herms, he had never seen the entire anime. And that's wild that this dude was translating shit and knows so much about Dragon Ball. And yet there were episodes of the anime he had never seen. And I know a lot of fans who have never seen GT all the way through. I've seen every GT, but I haven't seen them in order in I don't know how long. So it's a lot, bro. It's a big series. So Buu turns him into a giant cookie, which, by the way, they did sell these for a while, these Dabura cookies. They look, you know what they look like, bro? I always pictured these tasting like an animal cracker.
Yeah, it basically is an animal cracker. I mean, that's exactly what it is.
Hey, everybody, it's animal cracker time. So Buu eats him, and he's dead. This is not absorbing. He eats him. Now they realize, oh, no, Krillin is back to normal. Where's Piccolo? But Piccolo has managed to regenerate because his head was not destroyed. That's actually a new piece of information. Prior to this arc, Piccolo never explained that his head was the reason as to why he could survive. But now he's starting to realize, because they were both knocked out, what the hell's going on. And now they know, okay, wait, yeah. Somebody said graham cracker. You know what? What do you think about if he tastes like a gingerbread man? I could see that.
It could be like that, but I definitely think that Toriyama was thinking of animal cracker. It just has that consistency, and it's that flat cookie. You know, it just looks exactly like it.
I haven't had animal crackers in a long time, bro, but don't ever talk shit about animal crackers, brother.
Yeah, it's classic.
Classic, bro. Classic. All right, so they're figuring out what's going on. There's not much for us to really break down here. It's just mostly them waking up and trying to figure out what's going on. At this point, Babidi wants Buu to finish off Shin, but then there's a huge explosion that came from afar, and that was Vegeta destroying Babidi's ship. So now they're stuck there. And I love, it's kind of like there's always a distraction. Buu's about to kill off so-and-so, and then here comes Gohan to save him. He's about to kill off Shin again. Here comes Dabura to save him. He's about to kill him off again. Then Vegeta. Have you noticed that he
Yeah,
comes this
isn't
close
it
to
interesting that the Majin people are who screw him over the most? Like the people with the Majin marks are the ones that screw Babidi the most. It's like interesting to think about. Yeah.
No, it is, and that also shows that, like, you know, no one's ever fully loyal in this show, except to their family. So here's Vegeta looking like a badass. Trunks is marking out. And now he starts to make fun of Boo's appearance. And then Babidi has to explain he's basically calling you ugly, that you aren't good looking. That's going to get Boo mad because he doesn't like being called ugly. And now he wants to kill Vegeta. And then he says, I won't be going to hell alone. I'm taking you with me. Now, at this point, after reading that, I think at this point, I could be wrong, but it feels like Vegeta already knows what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Like, I think he knows at this point he's going to blow himself up.
Yeah, it's almost like he knows that it's necessary at this point because Boo is a lot stronger than he originally thought. So
I agree with Reckless, by the way. I do think that it is a badass line. Okay. Justin says, Danny, imagine if instead of turning people into candy, Boo's able to use his antenna to turn people into cocaine and various other drugs, and the higher he gets, the more powerful he becomes. Now that's a genius idea, bro. In fact, I wish I had that power. That is a good idea. I want someone to like
make that a thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna screenshot that, bro. I'm gonna screenshot that because that would be a tremendous Dragon Ball villain, bro. Like a Dragon Ball villain. It's almost like all these celebrities. You know what I'm saying? Okay. All right. That's a great line, bro. Good work, Justin. Good work. That would be awesome. All right, let's move on. Hold on. Sorry about that. So now Vegeta comes in for the kill, connects with a big kick. The paneling here is incredible. Look at this paneling, bro.
Yeah, dude, the punches are insane.
Fast-paced, rapid fucking kick, punch.
That punch right there is awesome.
Left hook, kick. He's just connecting, and Babidi doesn't know what's going on. These guys over here are like marking out, like, and look here. Piccolo says he surpassed the level of a normal Super Saiyan. So he's confirming once again that, Vegeta's in Super Saiyan 2. And he's like, Boo was able to kill Gohan. How did he come to this level of strength? They all think Gohan's dead. We talked about that. Me and Jordan did. Boo has all kinds of holes on his face from the hits. He just blows and they rematerialize. This is an epic scene right here. Vegeta fighting
shot of Majin Vegeta.
Yeah, it's a great technique. He blasts Majin Buu right through the stomach. This is a lot bigger than that damn spear. Buu goes down, and Babidi's like, well, is this the end? And then Vegeta smirks, like, I got him. It's over. But Buu gets up, regenerates. Now, at this point, I feel like after seeing that, that's when you know you're fucked.
That's exactly what happened to Goma, too. Whenever Vegeta was fighting Goma, it's the exact same thing.
Well, Goku's the one that put the hole in his chest.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
the Super Saiyan
just
3
knocked him up into the air, and then he like blew up
into the clouds. Yeah, and then he came back down. Yeah, Goku blasted a hole through Goma that went through all the different demon
realms. Yeah,
that was still one of the coolest things that we've ever seen in Dragon Ball.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that almost hurt me. And he's like, are you immortal? Which, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of hard to, like, not consider
he is very similar. You gotta admit, like, his regeneration is extremely similar to Zamasu's regeneration. It almost is like he's immortal. Like, I can understand why Vegeta would think that, because it almost is like that.
Yeah, well, Vegeta hadn't seen Zamasu up until this point.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that, like, if you saw somebody with that kind of regeneration, you'd be like, wow, are they immortal? And then, Zamasu later on kind of reinforces that idea because his regeneration is very similar to Boo's. So,
yeah, and his comes from the power of the dragon. So,
yep.
yeah, and that's the super dragon as well. So, Boo is now about to take the fight seriously. He screams, everyone reacts. Oh, we got a huge panel here, bro. Massive explosion. Toriyama taking up the entire page to really illustrate the kind of power that this new villain has. Everyone's saying to leave because it's too strong. Vegeta or Babidi puts up a barrier. This is just a great. This reminds me of the Cell Gohan beam struggle because look at this. It's just a great, grandiose look at the power of Majin Buu.
Yep.
All right. Then he leaves a giant crater in the earth. And I mean, what more can be said, bro? They're in deep shit. The end of the man behind the curtain. So Vegeta basically is saying that he's invincible, and he calls him an asshole. And then Trunks asks Piccolo, "Is my dad gonna lose?" And he just doesn't respond.
Be hard to break it.
Yeah, you're done, bro. Now this is one of my favorite things that Majin Buu does. He rips out a piece of his belly fat. And this is a useful technique too. He rips out a piece of his belly fat and then boing, like bubble gum. We talked about that earlier. And it's pink too, like classic bubble gum is. He fires the bubble gum at Vegeta. First, he fires a blast at Vegeta to get him to jump, throws this, and it wraps around Vegeta's body like a burrito. And now Vegeta is stuck inside of this belly fat concoction, the Laffy Taffy attack. Yeah. Damn, bro. I used to play this clip in the anime for all the Vegeta fans and show them how their boy got cucked by me. So by a fat guy. He kicks Vegeta over. Vegeta starts puking up blood. And then look at this. He jumps in and does a bonsai drop. Yokozuna and Nia Jax's finishing move on Vegeta's body and then gets into full mount position like we're fucking in the cage and starts to hit Vegeta with rights and lefts. Smashing. What an absolute thrashing this is. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, brother, John Big Gaborik, or not John Big Gaborik. What the hell's the name of that damn UFC referee? Big John? He would have stopped. Dean. Herb Dean would have stopped this shit already, bro.
Yep.
Trunks can't take it anymore. This is mirroring, of course, when Vegeta did this for Trunks in the Cell Saga. Story mirroring. Goten wants to go as well. Trunks kicks Buu away. He hits him. Trunks hits Buu very hard. Because if you look, he hits him, right? And Buu goes through all these mountains. So for an 8-year-old kid to kick Majin Buu that far, bro, he ain't no joke.
He definitely got a rage boost for sure.
Big John McCarthy. Gaborik is the WWE guy. Sorry, Jordan. What were you saying?
I was just saying a lot of people like try to argue with me on that, but I that's a rage boost. Like he saw his dad in trouble and he had an adrenaline boost and he, he's abnormally strong in that moment when he attacks Buu.
Yeah. No, but that should show the potential that they have.
Yeah.
Goten's trying to save Vegeta. They get the flab off of him. He's just a mess. I mean, and those are punches being thrown by the strongest villain up until this point. And Babidi didn't even know what was going on. Piccolo comes up from behind, pause, and he tells Babidi, if you see, no one will be able to seal me. The result will be the same whether you live or die. Die. And then he fucking chops Babidi in half. This is like the only, in this entire story arc, is this like the only time Vegeta or Piccolo actually did something like this?
I mean, he's done useful things in the past, like, but
Not
not
like
like,
this, though.
not like just like blatantly killing what seems to be the main villain at the time. No,
He
definitely
just,
not.
yeah, he just chops him in half.
Yeah,
And then, I love it because what I love about this is the way Toriyama's putting this together. It's absolute pandemonium. You've got Vegeta getting smashed. Gohan is gone. Shin is laid out somewhere. Trunks has shown up to kick Buu away for a little bit. Then Piccolo shows up to fuck Babidi up. It's just like there's a lot of things happening. So no matter how much you want to hate on the Buu saga, you can't deny that these chapters are absolute page turners because
hell yeah,
he's putting a lot of shit into the story.
yeah.
All right, we have a lot of super chats to catch up with. I wanted to. All right, so we're gonna get to the Vegeta sacrifice here in just a minute. Let me get these super chats out of the way. Gaming Hub UK says, so it's safe to say Dabura got turned into an edible, but also explains Boo's insanity. He's too high. Is that the first super chat that he sent, or is there another
I
one?
think so.
Hold on, let me check my because there was a few. Oh no, you're right. It is. That is the first one. Okay, so I didn't get it wrong then. Okay. This StreamYard app used to be a lot better. Because they would separate the super chats into its own like area. You can't do that anymore, and I don't like that. Like I really don't like that. Xavier says, do you think Majin Buu can make pudding? He can eat pudding. You know what? He probably can. But I don't know if Beerus wants to eat his pudding. Robert Wolf, haven't seen this guy in a while. Well, Dabura wouldn't be an animal cracker if he kept the stupid eye, now would he? Well, of course not. That's the point we made earlier. Yeah. The eye would have made the difference. Justin says, Boo is the second person that Vegeta has penetrated deeper than his own wife. What do you have to say about that?
Pause. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, have you tried using Stream Elements? Yes, I've tried them all. This is what I've been using, what I use for the Super Magic Show and for this stream. So I've already bought this thing for a year, so it'll be that. Yeah, that is quite the super chat. Well, we know about Vegeta in the bathtub. All right, let's talk about this sacrifice. Toriyama chooses to have Vegeta's face, but it's Vegeta's face in his base form. What do you think about this choice?
I think it's cool because it's like basically trying to show you that like there has been a part of Vegeta that's been like this the whole time in terms of his pride. That's the reason he calls him like farewell. He calls it farewell, proud warrior, because this is ultimately about Vegeta's pride. I'm not saying that Vegeta doesn't love his family, and I'm not saying that this isn't partially because he loves his family. But the biggest part of this is that what Babidi tried to exploit was Vegeta's pride, and Vegeta has so much pride in his family that it kind of doesn't matter, you know.
And Justin, I want to highlight this comment he wrote, and in his Saiyan armor, no less. I think that was done on purpose. I think that the reason as to why Toriyama chose to draw Vegeta like this for the chapter page is because it's showing us where he came from. It's basically like a reminder to the audience this is the end of his arc because he started here. This is where he started as this guy, this very unpleasant fellow right here, and he's changed a lot throughout the years, and that's why I think that he did that. That's my guess. Now we know that Toriyama was writing it as he went along. Do you think that at this point Toriyama was going to kill off Vegeta for good? Do you think that this was meant to be the end of that character, and then the manga in his own head was going to end with him dead?
I think that it's one of those things where Toriyama's like, yeah, he's leaving it open ended to where he can have Vegeta come back if he wants, but he can also like kill him off. So yeah, I think it's a combination of the two.
Well, I was just but okay. So you're saying that he may have had that idea because I don't
Yeah,
think he ever
I'm
commented
saying
on
that
that.
he left it open ended to where he could bring him back if he wanted to. Like it's the same thing he always does, where it's like, I'm not going to make everything so set in stone that I can't go back on it. Toriyama does that all the time.
Let me ask you a question. Let's look at an alternate universe here. Pretend there's no Super, no GT. Let's just drop all that.
Okay.
Original manga. How do you think? Do you think it would have been a good ending if the Buu saga ended with Gohan, Goten, and Trunks defeating Buu and Goku and Vegeta staying dead, with the story being okay, now they're the main characters and they'll have many adventures in the future, but this is the end of the manga, and thus the story ends with Goku and Vegeta in the afterlife moving on.
Oh,
How do
go
you
on.
feel about that as an ending?
I mean, it probably would have been in a more appropriate ending. It would have like ended the series and like made it feel like an actual ending, but I don't know if it would be a better ending. It would definitely feel more like a climax, more like an actual ending for sure.
Yeah, I was just, it's a different way to tell the story. It would have been like a bittersweet ending, but I think it could work. Big Harry Knott says, could Broly in the second coming defeat Dabura? He's talking about the second Broly movie. If Broly is able to avoid Dabura's magic, the spitting, it all comes down to whether or not Broly can avoid the spitting and all that stuff, then yes.
Yeah.
Power for power, I think he would beat him. My opinion. But that movie came out before these episodes aired. So, all right. This is a very important moment right here. This is Vegeta's sort of monologue. He gets up. He's saying, at this point, he already knows what he's going to do. So he tells Trunks, I've never hugged you before, have I? Huh? Come closer. And there's a pause right there. What's wrong, Dad? He goes, this is so embarrassing. And he smiles and he's like, take care of yourself, Trunks. Huh? Chop. And this was really well done, bro. Like, I want to
Yeah.
give a shout out to Horikawa's performance and even Chris Sabat's performance in both Z and Kai. The Kai one's a little bit more grounded, but they did a great job with this scene in the anime. Down goes Trunks. Goten has no idea what's going on. He gets punched. He goes down. Krillin knows what's up. Piccolo knows what's up, what he's about to do. Now Buu is awake and the fight's not over yet. Vegeta says, take the children and get away as far as you can. I'm counting on you, Piccolo. He's like, you're planning to die, aren't you? Like he knows they're kind of cut from the same cloth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why'd he punch Goten so hard? To knock him out, bro, to make sure he was out. Tell me something. If I die, will I see Kakarot in the other world? And Piccolo hits him with the truth, folks. I won't lie to you, so I'll put it bluntly. You will never see him. You've killed too many innocent people. After you die, your soul will go to a different place than Goku's. After your soul is purified, you will receive a new body, but your memory will be erased.
Yeah, that's Toriyama saying that this is Vegeta going through a literal ego death and rebirth. Like this is literally like, this is him being as blatant about it as humanly possible. Now he is also talking about Vegeta, what he's going to go through in his death, but he's also pointing out that this is a part of a grander process that Vegeta is going through where he's actually like changing. And that's part of the reason that I think that he's leaving it open ended because Piccolo is essentially telling us here, if you were to just take Piccolo's words at face value, you would be like, oh, okay, well, then Vegeta's definitely not coming back because he's going to go to hell, right? Like, if you took it, but I think that that's something that Toriyama is purposely using to essentially, like, give you false expectations in terms of like what the Vegeta's future might actually be, because this whole like rebirth like theme that they're going through for Vegeta, where he like turns into stone, he destroys himself, and then he comes back later in the Buu saga. It's just so well done for one thing, but also like thematic of like what the series itself actually represents. It would just be hard for me to imagine that Vegeta would never come back after this. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's what Piccolo's talking about is the process of what happens to people
When they
when
die.
when they're sinners. But the problem with this specifically is how in the anime version it's very different, because the anime version, the Dragon Ball Z anime version of the afterlife, is wildly different than what Toriyama had envisioned. This is why Frieza being in the flower fields in Resurrection F confused so many people. Why is he in his Mecha Frieza form if we saw him in Hell and Z? That's because Toei really expounded upon the afterlife in the anime. So, like the Snake Path and King Yema and King Kai, all that stuff's in the manga, but a lot of the extracurriculars that Toei came up with aren't in there. They're not in the manga. So,
Yeah.
if you want more information on this, I did a video called Afterlife Explained, and that's the video where I break this down, because I saw a lot of confusion going back years about why the anime and manga are somewhat contradictory. Because in the anime, you know, you go to hell, and you rot there, whereas in the manga, that's not what Piccolo just said. He's saying you'll be purified, you'll get a new body, your memory will be erased, and then you can move on into heaven. He doesn't actually say you get reincarnated. He says you move on into heaven after that. So he's not even talking about a hell. So, but notice how there is a hell in the other world, because we see Frieza in there. So
Yeah.
it just very confusing. This is why, like, you got to
Well,
watch that
you
video,
don't-
because
you
Toriyama
don't-
kept changing it.
The thing is like they did kind of expand on this previously in the original, like previously in the series, whenever they were talking about how Raditz refused to change and how King Yema had to wrestle him and send him down to hell and stuff like that. Like I think it's kind of implied that if they refuse to change, they're stuck in hell. Like that's already kind of implied.
Right, but in Vegeta's case, because he's doing good, he can get a reincarnation instead of suffering in hell.
Yeah.
But we never actually see hell in the original manga. You will never see hell in the original. We saw it in multiple Dragon Ball Z movies. We saw it in GT. We saw it in Z the anime, but it's not in the manga. Let's talk about canon. Oh, Dragon Ball Z is canon. And what about this? What about that? That's why these things are not that simple. So there is a hell. We just never actually see it until Resurrection F.
Yeah.
That's our first look at it. So that's the HFIL, bro. Yeah. And then Reckless actually didn't know hell doesn't appear in the manga. Yeah, I think it goes over a lot of people's heads. And this is something Jordan and I have talked about when we do the Mangalorian. This series is kind of meant to get you to realize things like that, because if you watch the anime first, like I did, Jordan, you saw the anime first, right?
Yeah.
Okay. When you're reading the manga, you're thinking about what you already saw in the anime. And so like you're creating associations in your brain that aren't actually there. And what happens is you fill in the holes with stuff you saw in the anime. This is what every human being does. There's nothing wrong with
association like that. Yeah.
Right. But that's what happens when you read the manga after the anime, and it could take a while to like actually disconnect from that. I had to do it. It was a struggle for me because I was so accustomed to the manga lore. I'm sorry, the anime lore, that the manga lore, which is what this whole stream is named after, was always associated with the anime. You know what I mean? But that's not my fault. That's because I found the anime first. Like 90% of people in the West. There's
Right.
people in Japan who, those people I talked about who had never seen the anime, they didn't even see hell. They didn't even see like any of that shit. Like Goku and the grandma and GT's hell. Like that weird shit until they saw Resurrection F. So what I'm trying to say is that you have to remember that the anime added a lot of stuff. So, and this line is in the anime.
Yeah.
Like they go over that. Okay, so moving on. You know, get as far away as you can. I'm not letting you get away. Boo, wait. You have to defeat me first. Got that, you big bloated balloon? You know, you said bad words about me again, you small fry. And then Krillin is like, come with me. They're going to escape. And then Vegeta's like, I found a way to destroy you. He powers up. This scene is incredible, no matter what version you watch. And now I want you to read what Piccolo says here. For the first time in his life, Vegeta's fighting for someone other than himself. He plans to sacrifice himself. This is the atonement we talked about. For Vegeta to atone for his sins and the lives that he took, not only on this day, but in the past, he's going to take his own life.
Yep.
So, yep. And, you know, I'm going to blow you into so many pieces you won't be able to come back again. Goodbye, Bulma, Trunks, and yes, even you, Kakarot, which thank God they didn't change that in the dub.
Yeah.
And then the whole explosion happens. It's massive. I know the narrator kept talking over and over again. His name was Vegeta, but it doesn't matter. Funimation got this right. No, they didn't. They got this line right, but not this scene. But they did do a good job vocally, though. Then the explosion happens, and this explosion, this has got to be one of the biggest we've ever seen in this whole story.
Yeah. Particularly in the manga, they make it seem huge.
Dicks out for Vegeta.
You can literally see like the curvature of the Earth, that it's so big. You know.
Don't say that around TikTok, Jordan. There are certain circles around TikTok that wouldn't like you saying that.
TikTok all day. Flat Earthers can go on somewhere. I don't give a shit, bro.
What's more annoying, bro? A flat earther or somebody who thinks that Goku's the hope of the universe?
What's the difference?
Oh. Hey, don't come at me for that one, bro. Don't come at me for that one. Nightmare Returns. So there's a whole last episode in the anime, a whole filler episode with Bulma and Yamcha trying to find the Dragon Balls. They took this page and just expounded upon it, like all these pages here. Bulma can sense that something bad has happened. She has that connection to Vegeta, like the Force. Vegeta turned to stone. Now, do you want to discuss the meaning behind this? Because this is a question that I see come up that I had even when I was younger. I talked about it in my final Explosion Explained video. Is there something in Journey to the West or in Buddhism or something you can add to that?
You expand on what you have to say about it, and then I'll say what I have to say about it.
Well, it's too much for me to go into, but it's in the final Explosion. You have to go to the YouTube channel and go technique guide.
Yeah, let's just promote your video. I think I'd rather do that. Yeah.
Okay, so the final Explosion Explained is the name of the video. I think I called it that. I think that's what it's called. So I did a series where I went over all of Vegeta's big moves. I did Big Bang, Final Flash, Gallic Gun. Then I did that one, and I talked about the meaning behind this Vegeta statue and what it represents. He goes down, and that's, you know, we've never seen somebody go out like this.
Yeah.
Then or now, like they have never done this since. They have never done this then or since.
Vegeta's final atonement. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, atonement. That is good. That's real good. So Piccolo assumes Gohan is dead. doesn't know what the hell's going on with Goku. Um, they're over here like we're fucked because all our top guys are gone. It does kind of give you the sense of, well, what the hell? But they all think that Boo is dead too. Piccolo says, but here he realizes it. I see. Boo will still regenerate if he sustains only minor injuries. That's why Vegeta destroyed everything around him, sacrificing his life. And then here we have Babidi just bleeding out. He is bleeding out. He's still alive. Even on the verge of death, he's still resisting. And there we have glops of Majin Buu pink come, and they all turn into mini Majin Buus. And Piccolo's like, I got to get out of here now. And they all fly towards each other to create one giant. This scene is fucking cool. But can you imagine? Huh?
It's very creative on Toriyama's part. Yeah.
Can you imagine how horrifying it would be, though?
Oh, yeah. I'd be freaked out, dude, for real.
There's no question that this was the scene that was inspired by Terminator 2 when T-1000 is frozen with that carbon monoxide or whatever, and then he hasta la vista baby shoots him, but they're in that fusion plant or whatever, that coal plant, and then the ice starts to melt, and then slowly, yeah, man, that's that. Terminator 1 was more of a horror movie, but I think that's one of the more horrifying scenes in part 2.
Yeah,
because 2 is more of an action film. So he's like, impossible. Boo's still alive. And he is. So Vegeta sacrificed himself for nothing. I mean, it was part of his arc, so it really wasn't for nothing. How do you feel about this?
I mean, I didn't think Vegeta was going to kill Boo even back then. I wasn't really shocked by it, but I do remember when I first saw this, I was like, where are they going to go? Like, where is this going to go now? Like, I do remember, like, this is one of those times in the story where I really didn't understand, like, what Toriyama was thinking. Of course, it turns out great, but, like, at this point, I was like, what exactly is going to happen here,
When Vegeta sacrifices his life, that's the end of Act 1 of the Majin Buu saga. I've talked about this before. When you read Toriyama's old arcs, not Super, we're talking about the old shit, he always had a 3 or 4 act structure. Act 1 ends right here. Buu had a 4-act structure. Act 1 ends right here. And actually, this is where the Funimation dub, when it aired on Cartoon Network, took a break. After Vegeta's sacrifice, that was the end of season 5 on TV. And then season 6 was the other Majin Buu stuff with Gotenks. So I've always found that this is a good stopping point, I think, too,
Yeah.
Justin Sullivan with a big super chat. Thank you as always for your generosity. He says, once again, I wasn't expecting to get as emotional over Vegeta's death as I did. He had evolved so much as a person throughout the series, from conqueror to family man. At least this time he went down fighting, though. So have you ever gotten emotional over this scene? Does it affect you? I know fans that have cried over this scene. What about you?
I do relate to what Vegeta is going through as a character. I wouldn't necessarily say that it made me super emotional, but I do relate to what he's going through, and I do relate to his character arc. I do think it's really cool that he found empathy. I do like that. But I never really got I never really got like super emotional about it.
Yeah, I didn't cry, but also the issue is the way that I got into this series was out of order. So I already knew Vegeta was going to come back. Like, I already knew what Vegeta was before I saw these episodes. So it's like, when you do it like that, bro, like, it's not going to have the same impact. Yeah. Air Dog says, how did Babidi survive the explosion? Well, if you looked at the earlier chapters, Babidi has an ability to put up a barrier to protect himself. So right as Vegeta blew up, Babidi put up a barrier to protect himself. That's how he survived the explosion.
Yeah.
Are you good, man?
I'm good.
Okay. So Babidi gets up. He once again wants Boo to, well, Boo gets up to fix him. Then Boo actually heals him, which is another ability that Majin Buu has that is being shown to us, as the chapter progresses, the volume progresses. So now they're not done because they want to get revenge on the green guy and those two little twerps, Piccolo, Goten, and Trunks. And at this point, now we have a situation where we have this weapon, Majin Buu, being controlled by this madman, Babidi, and they're in deep shit. They
Yep.
are in deep shit. Chapter 469, A Faint Hope. So now everyone starts getting up. This is all the aftermath. Goku, and again, Goku had no idea that Vegeta hit him. Damn, Vegeta took his last Senzu, or took the last Senzu. He must have went to fight Boo after he knocked me out. He doesn't even know. I still feel Boo's ki, but I can't find Vegeta's. Don't tell me he's been killed. I can't sense Gohan either. What happened? Like I love this part because,
Yeah, he's
huh?
completely he's completely in the dark. He doesn't know anything about anything.
I like that though because like now we have to rebuild. We have
Yep.
to figure out what the fuck to do. Like I like that. This is how you properly tell a story. The super arcs didn't really do this, bro. Think about it. None of the super arcs told a story like this, where you have the end of an act. Act one is over. Vegeta's sacrifice, Gohan being knocked out, all that shit was the end of act one. Now we begin the next phase of the story with everybody coming back together saying, well, now what? It
Yeah, I
feels
think
like the
the closest
beginning of a new arc.
I think the closest we got to that was the Moro arc. The rest of the arcs are very
Yes,
the
I
rest of
agree.
the arcs are they're formulated very, very differently. I would even say Battle of Gods, even in the manga, is kind of formatted like a movie, actually. Like it's not.
Well, it was a movie first.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying like in terms of like how they ended up implemented in the series and in the manga, it still comes off like a movie. Same thing with ROF; it doesn't really come off like an arc. To your point, and then the Universe 7 versus Universe 6 stuff, of course, comes off like a tournament arc. I will say the Goku Black stuff, it, because of the constant time travel back and forth, it's hard to like have that feeling of like an act,
It's
like an
very
act.
repetitive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like that's kind of what takes away that aspect of the storytelling there. But and of course the Tournament of Power is also another tournament arc. So yeah, I would say the closest we got to it was the Moro arc for sure.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I love about old school classic Dragon Ball, like the old shit, is that it's formatted like a story. Like this is, I don't shit on modern Dragon Ball because, modern Dragon Ball did a lot for me and I appreciate it. And I had fun with it, but it's not going to just, I'm not going to lie. The old stuff was just written better. Like Toriyama had more structure despite.
Formulated very differently. It's formulated in like an epic way.
Yeah, Toriyama, even though he was making it up as he went along, had some structure, and I like that.
Yeah.
So Goku teleports to the sacred heavenly realm, or Kami's lookout. Everyone's there. This is where they all kind of reunite. And the Earth is still okay, but what are we gonna do? Dende's there. Everyone shows up there. Goku's all beaten up, so they know he's not. Well, Goku is dead, but he's not like destroyed dead. And uh Dende does heal Goku's body, even though it's not a normal body. What a disaster. Lord Kaioshin and Gohan are dead, and Vegeta, too. Boo's incredibly strong. Lord Kaioshin's fear was justified. If we let Boo roam free, the Earthlings and everyone else in the universe will be wiped out. And it's a huge relief you're here. After all, you're the only one who can beat him. You're here for 24 hours, right? Then we still have time. And then Goku says, to be honest, I don't think I stand a chance against him. Vegeta and I are almost equal in terms of power. Boo wasn't injured at all, even with Vegeta going all out. So I don't think so. I don't think I can beat him. Now, this right here has been retconned into Goku hiding Super Saiyan 3.
Yeah.
But I do not think that was the I
It does
will
not seem like it. I agree with you. It doesn't seem like it at all. Yeah.
I will stand by this, brother, until I am dead. Toriyama had not come up with Super Saiyan 3 yet. I think in his mind, right, Goku and Vegeta were at their best in that fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then Goku even says if they were alive, we'd have a chance. You got 3 Super Saiyan 2s, but this is different. And then Piccolo's like, it's not even a question of numbers. Like, he's too strong. And this is when Goku uses a word that's new to the Dragon Ball world, and that is fusion. Now, the way that Toriyama wrote fusion is he used, and this is getting real technical, he used hiragana to write fusion, or katakana to write the word fusion, which is the English word for fusion.
Yeah.
The Japanese equivalent of that word is gatai. So when you think about merging or fusing, you say gatai. But in this case, Toriyama is using the English word fusion, because you actually hear Nozawa say fusion because he's using the English word to describe the technique instead of the Japanese word.
Yep.
And there's a reason for that, because fusion is the name of the technique, not just regular old gatai.
Yeah, it's the name. Yeah, it's the technique. Yeah.
It's kind of like how Hakai in Japanese just means destroy, but in English it means, it's a technique. You know it, Dende. Some Metamoran taught me about it in the afterlife. It's a technique that 2 people of the same size and the same level of strength can use. After the fusion, those 2 persons will become a new whole person, which have an incredible power, way above the power that they had when they separated. So Toriyama has talked about this, and I did a whole video on it too. Metamoran Fusion Explained. Toriyama got the idea of fusion from another mangaka. They were out to lunch or whatever. He was talking to the guy, exchanging ideas, and hold on. This is correct from Jared Punch. This is exactly correct. They always say gatai. So anyways, and the other mangaka told Toriyama, why don't you just combine characters? But what do you mean? Just fuse characters together like a mech, like they do in Sentai or whatever. And he was like, okay. And that worked. That's where he got the idea from. And he's not hiding it. He's publicly said that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Those Metamors were great. They were weak and small, but after using the diffusion technique, they transform into a fierce warrior. This is already letting us know that Goten and Trunks, because they're small and nowhere near as strong as their parents, when they make Gotenks so fusion is not A times B. It's not. There is a fusion boost. Yeah, it's way more. There is and Potara fusion is even more than that. But the guidebooks sometimes, and I think the guidebooks are wrong about this, they list fusion as being A times B, when I don't think it's A times B. I think it's way more than that.
Yeah, I think the only blatant explanation we've ever gotten for any type of multiplier for fusion was whenever Vados talks about Kefla being as strong as she is as a result of not only the multiplication of powers, but also the rivalry factor, the fact that their spirits are attuned to each other. So there is a third factor there that's never discussed in the guidebooks in terms of how much more powerful they get. They never talk about that in the guidebooks.
Yeah, the guidebooks, a lot of them were people that worked for Shueisha filling in the blanks. Toriyama was involved, but it wasn't he wrote the whole thing.
Right.
Okay, this guy says if he never came up with it, then why did he let them put that out there? He didn't let anybody put it out there. He said it himself, bro. He was interviewed about fusion, and he said, I went to lunch with a mangaka. Listen, how about this? Go to my channel. Look up Metamore and Fusion Explained. I'll tell you, that tells you the entire story.
Yeah.
The entire thing. Toriyama himself publicly said, I got the idea from so-and-so. Like, you know why he said it? Because he doesn't give a fuck about, think about how much of a dick he would be if he straight up lied and said, I came up with it on my own. That's fucking, I hate that shit, bro.
Huh? Toriyama was very humble as a person. He never had a problem admitting when somebody helped him along the way.
No, I mean, yeah, and that's the right way to do it. What are you going to lie and say, oh, no, I made it all up myself? No, he always borrows ideas. Everyone does.
Yeah.
Jordan's manga, by the way, speaking of borrowing ideas, which is inspired by Toriyama, it's in the description.
Yeah,
so
go
if you
read
haven't you haven't checked that out yet, check it out.
Also, we dropped some new pages today, and Cashman makes his first appearance in the part 2 of the comic, which isn't finished. But if you want to go see the next 2 pages, they're up on my Twitter profile right now. So.
The reason why he's hiding Super Saiyan 3? Oh, I think he was talking about something else. I thought that guy was talking about Toriyama. Never mind. I thought he's talking about Super Saiyan 3. I thought he was talking about Toriyama and the fusion idea. Or well, whatever. We already answered that question. So basically Goku says he's never actually done it. It took him a week to learn it, and they're gonna have to, they're gonna have to do what they can. Now, Krillin's idea is kind of interesting. He's saying if you go to the afterlife, you can get Gohan and Vegeta there and then fuse with them. And then he says, no, Goku can't return here again, even fuse with somebody else. Besides, Vegeta's won't be in the same place as Goku and Gohan. And this is where Popo says, Trunks and Goten are the same size and have identical power. Well, not identical, but close. Couldn't they do fusion? And this is when Goku's like, that's a good idea. And I like the fact that Popo came up with the idea.
Yeah.
Imagine if Goku was like, no, I came up with it. Same shit. Okay, so now the hope is in the kid.
That leads me to think, do you think that Toriyama was using Popo as like a spiritual stand-in for the guy that gave him the idea? Like he was like, instead of Goku coming up with the idea, let's have Popo do it a lot like this mangaka did,
It's possible, but I like the fact that Popo contributed something this late in the series. I mean, the last time Popo did anything useful was helping Dende out with becoming God and taking Bulma to Young's a bit. After that, he didn't do shit, and I'm glad that he's still contributing something,
Me too.
So, okay, so moving on, it's dark. Shenlong has been summoned. The dragon has been summoned because they know something is up. Basically, Bulma got the Dragon Balls, and they're trying to resurrect the people that were killed at the tournament, right? The problem is if they use the wishes now, they're not going to be able to use it again for a year, and then we're screwed. So basically, the idea is they have to stop them from using the Dragon Balls. And at this point, the dragon can do 3 wishes. I know there's a lot of controversy behind all this. Yes, Dende upgraded the dragon in between the Cell and Buu saga to do 3 wishes. So there you go. They're here and they're trying to resurrect the people, and boom, the first wish is granted. Everyone who died gets resurrected. Now, Goku shows up, he's late, and then he's like, they've used the wish. Dende says, don't use the other 2 wishes, then we can summon them again in 4 months. So this is like a new rule that had not really been established before, where with the 3 wishes, if you use up one of the wishes, that means that the balls will activate again in 4 months. If you use up 2 of the wishes, the balls will activate again in 8 months.
Yeah.
So you can actually do wishes a la carte.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yes, right. And that's it. Says goodbye to the dragon. He's going to leave. And because they don't know what's going on. So Goku has to fill them in. Now we have Kibito, who came back to life somehow. He was killed by Dabura, but he came back. Babidi's revenge operation begins. Okay. We're not done yet. We're going a little bit over time, but there's a lot to talk about, dude. This chapter has the Vegeta sacrifice, and that's
that by itself is a lot, yeah.
Yeah, that's why we start earlier because of that, bro. It's dark over here already. It's been raining over here a lot. So this image of like Babidi and Buu is like he's on his back, like almost like a little kid riding his big super weapon.
Yeah.
Kibito's trying to figure out just what the fuck's going on. Shin is still alive. He's all beaten up. See, now we're finding out new things. So Kibito knows how to heal also. So he heals Kaioshin. And Kibito also knows that Shin is alive. I'm sorry, that Gohan's alive. So if you go down, if you look at Gohan, he's knocked out, but they're going to go get him. So now that Gohan's alive, there may actually be a chance. And Kaioshin says that Gohan's enormous power could surpass even Buu. Well, how is that possible? He's like, you don't know what those Saiyans are capable of. And so Shin's already got an idea. He figures that Gohan can be of use to them, but he's not ready just yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
He wants to take Gohan to the sacred Kaioshinkai, which is the Kaioshin planet that orbits the universe. And that's their realm. And he's saying that a human or a mortal has never stepped foot in that place. And he's like, yeah, well, he's dying. We have no choice at this point, bro. Boo's gonna kill everybody.
He's following in his father's footsteps and getting some Kai training, which is cool.
Not just, and here's the thing too. Majin Buu, it's not about him just blowing up Earth. The idea behind the Majin Buu threat is that Buu will destroy everybody and go to the sacred Kai realm and destroy them too. So they have to do it now before they get, it's too late. So this is all like, again, they're picking up the pieces. Goku tells everybody that Gohan and Vegeta are dead. Of course, Vegeta is, but Gohan isn't. And Goten and Trunks are okay. This is the news that Bulma gets very emotional. I like this a lot because it just shows the connection they have now. And now Babidi starts to talk to them telepathically. I fucking love this scene, bro, because this is something like that's out of a movie, bro. This is like something like end of the world biblical type shit, bro. So Babidi says, 3 idiots have caused me quite a bit of trouble today, and I'm looking for them. And everyone can hear him. The whole world can hear him. That's how much of a powerful magician he is. Close your eyes and I'll show you their images. So the images are, of course, of Piccolo, Goten, and Trunks. I forgot to introduce myself. Me, Babidi, the terrifying magician. And this, my servant, Majin Buu, he's more terrifying than me. He's very strong. No one can beat him. See this city? Allow me to show you what will happen if those 3 don't show themselves. I don't like to make a mess, so I'll kill you all as cleanly as possible. Go on, Buu. So Buu takes all of the people in the city, telepathically lifts them up, turns them all into candy, and eats them in one shot. Bro, the Earth has never... This is actually worse than Cell, worse than Piccolo. Earth has never been in this much danger, bro.
Yeah, that's an insane way to kill people, for sure.
Not just that, but the amount of people and the speed of it all. He's not even like destroying anything. Yeah, I don't know about the... Is that the WhatsApp is going off on your end, right?
I think so.
Because I don't have it. I don't have it on, like, my tablet's over there.
My phone off.
All right. No, it's all good. Junior says, you never know what to expect when you invite Majin Buu into your house. In your house. Yeah. In your house, a house. That's a wrestling joke. There's a commercial for a wrestling pay-per-view. in 1995 where the guy said, because this guy's a fan of the wrestling podcast that I used to do, and I do it again from time to time, where in the commercial he was like, you never know what to expect when you invite the World Wrestling Federation into your house.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was called In Your House. And in the first one, they gave away a house. Dude,
Oh, wow.
I entered that contest because the house was in Orlando, which is about an hour and a half away of where I lived back then. And they had a pool. It was in a nice neighborhood. And apparently whoever bought the house wound up selling it anyways. Probably made some good money on it. Okay, so the Earth is in very big danger. Now that there's nobody left in this useless, and left, it's useless to leave the city lying around like this. I suppose we have to clean this mess up ourselves. Clean it up well, Boo, but not too hard or you'll destroy the planet. So then Boo, after eating everyone in the city, he huffs and he puffs
And he
and
blows,
he blows the entire city away with his breath, bro. Bro, this is so fucking badass. I remember seeing this in the anime being like, fuck, dude. And in the manga, what do you think, bro? You talk.
I think it's crazy just how like versatile Boo's abilities are. Like that's what makes him so intimidating. It's not just that he can. It's not like a lot of the other villains where, you know, they can just destroy things. They have like a massive energy blast that they can use to destroy the environment. Boo destroys things in a very creative way that I like. It does remind me a lot of Superman. That's true. Like he has like a set of abilities that are interesting and unique, and I think that's cool.
I agree. It's awesome. And that's it. It's left a barren wasteland. So now Babidi shows them the three individuals that they want: Piccolo, Goten, and Trunks. Of course, most of the people on Earth don't even know who they are. Maybe some at the tournament, but not people who weren't there. Of course, many might remember Piccolo as the original Demon King Piccolo from back in the day, but he's also doesn't have his antennas out, so that's the dead giveaway. So basically, Babidi tells everybody, help me find them or I'll be destroying cities until I find them. Like, or else all the Earthlings will perish in 5 days from now. Better hurry up and start looking for those three. So, I almost forgot something very important. It's about how you can get in contact with us. Just call for me in your mind and you can communicate directly with me. That's all. So it's some real magic. Like,
yeah, Babidi's way more powerful than people would like to think. That's for sure.
Yeah. He's not quite like a Neva, but he's not powerful physically, but his magic is
hacks, like his hacks like abilities. Yeah.
And what makes Majin Buu so dangerous is that he has magic hacks and physical strength.
Yep.
I love this entire thing, bro, because he's literally putting the entire world in a hostage situation. Turn over the fighters or else. I love it, bro.
Oh, he just blows up one of the tournament fighters' heads, bro. That's wild.
Was that in the anime?
One of the tournament representatives, I should say.
I only have their names. That won't help. Yeah, dude. Oh my God, bro. Look at that. And he goes, and Toriyama writes Pop. Like Pop goes the weasel, bro. No, do not contact me with useless information. Nobody else wants to die like this, right? I'm too busy traveling around the world killing humans. So he doesn't want you to reach out to him unless you actually can find these guys.
Yeah.
And he goes, who knows? I might visit your city next. Oh, no. They're all fucking scared. And now Goku pretty much says that he needs Piccolo to help Goten and Trunks learn the fusion pose. So the idea is Goku will teach Piccolo the technique. because Goten and Trunks are asleep right now because Vegeta knocked them out. And then when they wake up, Piccolo will teach them the fusion.
Yeah.
And then Goku's like, as long as we have the Dragon Balls, we can bring everybody back. The planet will be destroyed either way. So he's not even worried about it. So here we have the sacred Kaio realm. They're there. Gohan is healed, and this begins Gohan's quest in the second act, which is Gohan has to get stronger. He's the first mortal to have brought. There it is, the Kaio Shinkai, and basically, Kibito reveals that he was resurrected, but that's because of the Dragon Ball wish.
I like how they reveal that even the Kaio normally aren't allowed in this realm. Like the lower level Kais aren't even allowed.
Yeah, the regular Kais, not the Shins. Yeah. No, this realm exists outside of the main universe. It's right outside of it. So, yeah. Now this is where he reveals his plan. I wanted you to crush Buu with the Z sword. I know for sure that you can learn how to use it. And they're like, the Z sword? Have you lost your mind? How could a human use that sword? Many Kaioshin, including myself, prove unable to budget. This is the King Arthur thing now. Toriyama's borrowing from King Arthur, which is taking the sword out of the stone and becoming the big hero. Now, I like this for a couple of reasons. Number one, Trunks from the future was the big sword guy. Now Gohan, who was Trunks' mentor in the future timeline, he gets to train with it. Number two, I love Dragon Balls like ancient artifacts. I love the sword and the stone shit. Like I'm a huge fan of that kind of stuff. And number three, it gives Gohan something to do. Now, if you're wondering if Toriyama named the Z sword after Dragon Ball Z, I don't think he ever said that, but I think it would make sense, right? Like, Dragon Ball was already aired at that point. Yeah, it was already on the air. It was behind.
I've also heard it called the Zeta sword. I don't know if that's.
No, it's because in Japan, Zeto is how they say Z.
Yeah.
Zeto, yeah. Or the Z sword. There's lots of ways to say the letter Z, bro. It's weird. But yeah, Zeto. But it's the same thing. When you watch it subbed, you hear them say like Zeto. I forgot how to say sword in Japanese, bro. But watch it sub, bro. Right. Anyways, Gohan gets new clothing. He gets put in Kaioshin clothing, because that's how they want to train him. I guess they take him to the Z sword, and I like this right here. Pull it out, huh? I feel like I've heard this somewhere before. Is he talking about Videl, bro?
I don't know what he's talking about. That's a fucking wild, random, crazy line from.
Hold on a minute, bro. Hold on. I gotta.
Yeah, I understand.
I never noticed this until now. Hold on. Was he talking?
You gotta make the tweet, bro.
I'm doing it right now, bro. I can't not, because I never noticed this until today, bro, that he said that. I never noticed it until today.
I guess that's why Pan is a thing.
That's why Pan came out later, bro. He stopped pulling out, bro. That's what happened. He stopped pulling out. All right, let's get back to this, bro. We're going a little overtime today. I didn't mean to, but this volume is thick, bro. Yeah. We're probably going to go overtime for volume 42 as well, when we get to the last chapter. So here, Goku is going to... They're all pissed off because they found out that Vegeta and Gohan are dead. They're very upset. Goku's like, look, stop crying. We don't have time for that. If you're sad, learn this new technique as fast as you can, and you can avenge them. I love Goku as a motivator here. And here Goku's going to show them the fusion pose, the Z sword. So he's like, what'll happen? And if I pull it out, what's going to happen? You'll receive incredible power greater than Buu's. They don't even know what's inside the Z sword. They don't even know anything about how it works. They just heard. It's a rumor. But one of the things that we have talked about time and time again, Jordan, this is true. I've made the joke, and even Daisy was like, oh my God, that's true. Anytime you are playing a role-playing video game and somebody says there is a rumor of, it's always 100% true. It's never not.
Right.
There's a rumor that if you steal this from that guy, you can make that, but that can't be true every
Right.
time. So, yeah, but they don't even know how to use it. So Gohan's trying to pull it out, struggling. It's too easy. He goes Super Saiyan, saying it's not going to change anything. It's impossible. I don't know how many Kaio have tried, and he's a mere human. He means to say mortal, but he feels it cracking. It's cracking, and then that's a classic panel right there, bro. Gohan pulling out the fucking sword.
Yep.
Look at that, bro. Go. So Gohan, how do you feel with the legendary sword in your hands? He's like, it weighs tons, but I don't feel much power yet. Is that so? Are you sure we can win against Buu with this? What are you talking about? This is the sword of the sanctuary, the most powerful sword in existence. It can defeat Buu. But if you're not strong enough to control the sword, then it's out of the question. You must learn to wield the sword properly. Do you think that by this point Toriyama already had the idea of old Kai being in the sword?
Probably. I would say this is close enough to that event that, yeah, he probably did. I just sent you something if you want to show it on screen. So there is a part in Journey to the West where Sun Wukong temporarily becomes a martial arts master to a select few of young martial artists. And one of the tests that he put them through is seeing if they can lift his staff. And so this is literally exactly like, the Z Sword thing. But what's really interesting about this is that later on, he uses a spell to unlock these fighters' potential, which is, verbatim also what happens later on in this whole thing, too. So I just wanted to point.
Yeah. There's people in the chat. I want to address this. Trenton and Allen are like, how is a sword going to kill Buu? I think the way that Kibito thought in his head is, I think that he thought that the sword was magic and that if they cut Buu with the sword,
he wouldn't regenerate.
He wouldn't regenerate. That's my guess. That's my guess. Because you're right. Any old sword is not going to work. I mean, we saw the blast, we saw the spear. He's going to regenerate. But I think in his mind, it's like, okay, well, this thing has to have some kind of magical property to prevent him from regenerating, or at least injure him enough to where it would be very hard for him to. That's again, this is a guess, but I always rationalize it in my head like, okay, it's some kind of legendary power.
Yeah.
I played RPGs before I got into Dragon Ball, bro. They all have this shit. You know? I like how Gohan hands Kibito the sword and just bam, like nothing. And the fact that Gohan was able to lift it is already a miracle. Now, I do like how they figure out here that, okay, maybe Gohan swinging the sword will make him stronger because it's heavy. It's kind of like kettlebells. Like if you swing kettlebells around, you have all this crazy muscle buildup. I think that's what they were thinking the Z sword did.
Yeah. That's the natural conclusion you would come to for sure.
Now, I love what's going on right here because we've got two different things going on with two sets of heroes. Gohan is learning the Z sword and getting stronger, or trying to, and Goten and Trunks are going to learn the fusion. So usually in Dragon Ball, we have similar things like, for example, Goku and Gohan training over here, and then Vegeta and Trunks over here. We've seen this before, but I really like how Toriyama kind of splits it to where, as a reader, if you've never read this before, you don't know what's going to ultimately be the W. Is it going to be Gohan and Gotenks? Well, they didn't call it Gotenks yet, but you know what I mean? They're kind of building up.
One could guaranteed fail, one could guaranteed succeed, or both could fail, or both could succeed. Yeah, it's you have no idea what's going to happen.
He's building up two separate people to get pushes, basically.
Yeah.
Xavier says Saiyans are worthy, Kais are not for the Z sword. Well, if you're gonna look at it like that, like it's Thor's hammer, then yeah, I mean Gohan certainly is. You say Saiyans, but you have to remember something. Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Broly, these are special people. Regular Saiyans like your King Vegetas and people like that, Paragus, they couldn't lift this fucking shit, bro.
Yeah, it is
Gohan,
interesting. It is interesting that he used Super Saiyan to pull it off, though, which is associated with the pure heart. Like, I do think that's cool.
right. And I do think that I do like this a lot. I like that they're building up two different possible victories at the same time for Act 2, because we know that Act 3 will be the final battle, even though in the Buu saga, it's actually Act 4 because
Yeah.
the 4-act structure. So moving on, because we're almost done here. We're going to get to the part with the Dragon Radar and all that here in just a minute. This is basically to summarize this. It's just Goku explaining that they need to learn the fusion pose because if they learn it, they can avenge Gohan
I
and
love how
Piccolo.
they throw
Gohan
shade
and
at
Vegeta.
Goku because they don't know him that well. You know?
He
Like,
hasn't been around.
yeah, like with Goten and Trunks, they haven't really got to understand who and what Goku is, and it's very obvious.
Um, come, come, come. Companion Gravikun. Is the thing with the sword that it determines who's worthy, or is it just really heavy?
No, it's just
No, I
really
think it's really heavy. Yeah, it's not.
and
It's not
Toriyama
like
just
Thor's
used
hammer.
Toriyama just used Super Saiyan to kind of play on the purity of heart thing from King Arthur. So it's like a combination of the two, kind of. You know, it's like like he had the pure heart. That's the reason he had Super Saiyan, but that was also the reason that he could lift the sword out of the stone.
There's your
Yeah, this is
artist right
my
there.
artist for my manga down here, by the way.
I think he's saying that Gohan makes him feel like that. So again, he's trying to motivate Goten and Trunks. How do you feel about Goku now at this point in the manga, like he did in the previous arc, being more of like a player coach type of character where he is the mentor? He's got all the respect now. All the heroes put him over as the greatest who ever did it. He is the OG character. How do you feel about in this part of the story, Goku going back to being a teacher like what he did with Gohan?
I really like it. I do think that people tend to give. Okay, this is a controversial take. This is a hot take. People think that this is like Goku being responsible. I actually disagree. I actually think that it's very reckless that Goku put so much faith in Goten and Trunks, despite the fact that he did not know him that well. Now, I understand why he does it, because it's the same thing he did with Gohan, where it's like he's projecting himself onto them. He's like,
And
oh,
he
well,
knows they have potential.
yeah, he also knows that they're super strong. But I also think that he was way too confident in Goten's and Trunks' ability to take care of this problem. I think that this is like a very it's a desperate move, so it makes sense. But I do think that it is ultimately a mistake. People kind of look at this as like growth on Goku's part. I don't really see it that way. I think that Goku's already like basically at peak character development almost at this point in the story. I think this is more so like an act of desperation, an understandable act of desperation. But I see this more as like an act of desperation than I do Goku trying to find a successor, which is what people like try to cut this out to be. I don't look at it that way. I look at it like, no, he's in a desperate situation. Goten and Trunks are the greatest candidates to help fix the problem. And so he naturally, I mean, because Goku even himself didn't come up with this idea. Popo's the one that did it. So it's not that like Goku's like thinking super deeply about this, like, oh, like I have to find a successor to protect Earth. He does come to that conclusion after he starts training Goten and Trunks, but I think people like kind of justify this whole thing as like Goku like thinking about this really deeply, and I just don't see it that way.
I agree with everything you say, except for one small thing I want to add. I don't think it's Goku putting too much faith in Goten and Trunks necessarily. There's a third aspect here. I think Goku's putting a lot of faith not just in Goten and Trunks, but in the fusion technique. He knows that the fusion technique is going to make them incredibly powerful. He knows that there's a chance. What he does not know, and he finds out later, is that when Goten and Trunks fuse to become Gotenks, they're still kids at heart, and they goof off a lot, and they fuck around a lot. And that's the one thing Goku probably didn't take account of, is that, okay, in Goku's mind, Goten and Trunks achieved the level of Super Saiyan younger than anybody else, right? Younger than even Gohan, right? So he's like, okay, there's potential here. The fusion pose, okay, we can do more with it. I think that is Goku's confidence in the fusion pose. But it is a gamble. I mean, it is a legitimate gamble because he can't be there forever. You know, and at this point, the Kai he was still in the Z Sword, so it wasn't like he could have sacrificed his life for Goku like he did later on.
I just think it's interesting that Goku puts so much faith in Goten and Trunks and Gohan, and then they immediately show character traits that are unbecoming. And what I also think is interesting about that is the character traits that they show that are unbecoming are character traits that Goku himself would not have. They're mistakes that Goku himself would not make. So it's in a way kind of showing you what Goten and Trunks and Gohan lack in comparison to Goku. So I think that's very interesting.
I want to go more into this next time, but one of the things that there is a criticism here that I think people need to have a second look at, and that is the idea of Gotenk's behavior. Because I will admit that the Gotenk Super Buu fight can get kind of annoying. I think they goofed off for too much. However, when you really think about it, let's think about this from a real world perspective. Goten and Trunks have never been in a serious battle, have never had to defend the planet. They grew up during 7 years of peace. They didn't have to deal with all the different villains that Gohan had to deal with and Goku had to deal with.
Yeah.
So when you think about it like that, I want you to really think about this. Gotenks fucking around kind of makes sense, because if I were an 8-year-old kid and I could fuse with my friend and create the strongest fighter in the world, as an 8-year-old kid, I'm not going to want to fight. I'm going to want to play. I'm gonna want to fly around the planet. I'm gonna want to fuck around with Boo because I'm overconfident. Like, it sort of kind of makes sense. Like, they have no idea what it's like to fight for their lives. This is the first time they've ever done that. So I think they've never tapped into this kind of power before. I think it just makes sense that they behave like that. But we'll get to that when we get there. Now, that does not mean that there are a few chapters that do annoy me. We're going to get there when we get there. But it still makes sense because Toriyama's writing a kid. You want him to write a kid like an adult?
Yeah.
A spoiled kid, too. So anyways, here's a classic image of Babidi and Boo, and now they have made it to one of the biggest cities, which is the Western capital, aka West City. Now this is dangerous because Bulma's there, Bulma's dad is there, the family is there.
Yeah, Bulma's Caps Corporation Tokyo's there.
Well, Capital Corporation is there. Yeah, and oh wait, that's not West City. I thought that was West City. We haven't got there yet, I guess. Okay,
no,
he blows up the
big city.
Yeah, that's not West City. The West City's the next one. Okay, so that's another big Western capitals. That's the next chapter. So now Trunks and Goten communicate with Babidi, and they're saying, "We're not ready yet, but we'll beat the hell out of you. Stop talking to him. He'll find out about this place. Where are you? Yeah, you don't want him to find out about the sacred rock that's up and away." And now are you ready to learn fusion? So Goten and Trunks just say, give us some time. And now finally they're ready to learn the fusion. And that's how this volume ends. So yeah, I got confused. I thought that West City was this volume, but it's the next one. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, what a cliffhanger.
Yeah. So now what we've got set up is Gohan and the Z Sword over here. Vegeta's dead. We don't see him for a while. Goku and Piccolo trying to train Goten and Trunks on fusion. And then we have Boo and Bobbity running amok. Three
Yep.
different things going on at once. And next volume, when we cover it, we're going to go into Super Saiyan 3. We're going to go into the training. We're going to go into the very interesting choice of Toriyama actually playing around with Boo being a good guy for a little while.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that because that's a huge twist that we never see in the other arcs. Honestly, Jordan, reading the Majin Buu arc again, I'm kind of digging it more than I used to. I think Toriyama took a lot of risks with this art, bro. They didn't all pay off, but he did do some different shit here.
Yeah. I think this is probably one of his most creative arcs, for sure.
All right, yeah, it's just different, and it's the end. It's the last one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna get out of here. Wait, Justin just dropped another super chat. Let me get that real quick. In the anime, didn't Amy Schumer sell Goten and Trunks out?
They do it in the You'll see it next. You'll see it next volume.
Yeah, I don't know about Amy Schumer though.
He's comparing that tournament mom to Amy Schumer. He's just giving her a nickname.
Yeah, that's right, because she's fat.
Yeah.
How could I forget? Anyways, thanks a lot for joining us this week, y'all. We'll be back in the next Mangalorian. Should be next week. We'll see what happens with the schedule. But take care of yourself. We've only got 3 left, right?
Yep.
That's it. 3 left. And then we got more stuff, but this guy said, what happened? I was busy. Well, start the stream over again, bro.
There you go, bro. Just restart it.
All right, have a good one. Huh?
I said we'll catch you guys later.